Everyone in our line of work knows there are many taboos on Ghost Festival night, like don't look back, don't pick up money from the ground, and especially don't take jobs, burning paper money at graves at night for cash, but for $1,000, I took it anyway, and burned the run-damn grave. Then the beautiful woman on the tombstone came knocking on my door that very night, said she really liked the paper money I burned, so she decided to take me as her gift in return. Yanbei, Ghost Festival, the old alley was cold as an ice cellar. The wind reeked of burnt offerings. I was sitting on the doorstep of my own paper shop, fuming with rage. Damn it, I'm supporting you, why aren't you following? My hui is already 0-8. And you dumb old bastard, stealing my red buff. I slammed my phone shut, cursing. A bunch of pig teammates. No Mike, it's been a year since I crossed into this world. I feel like I'm just a loser transmigrator, barely scraping by on a dime. Dead bro. A year ago, my grandpa gave me this shop on his deathbed. He said, Zyro Mo, our family trade can't be cut off. If it is, trouble will follow. First year, only do daytime business. Don't open the door even if a customer comes at night. I was totally confused back then. A shop selling stuff for the dead, with so many rules. But out of last shred of respect for the unknown, I stuck to the rules for a whole year, closing shop sharp at 6 p.m. every day. And what happened? No business for over half a year, so bro came about to eat dirt. I glanced at my phone, 3 minutes to 6 time to clock out. I got up and grabbed a box full of paper money and a pack of giant gold ingots. Yeah, I took a delivery and burn order. Damn, if you care so much, why not come burn it yourself? Muttering, I double-checked the info. Changyuan Cemetery, plot 1107, Yishengsheng. Just as I was about to head out, a gust of eerie wind swept through, making me shiver. I suddenly remembered another of Grandpa's taboos. First year in the trade, don't take any jobs on Ghost Festival night. Old man, it's not that I'm disobeying, it's just, he added more money. $1,000 tip enough to live on for half a month. Poverty is my only motivation. Before leaving, I instinctively glanced at the Taoist robe hanging in the main hall. Grandpa said it could save my life in a crisis. Back then I thought he was worried I'd fail, and wanted me to become a fake Taoist priest. I locked the door and hailed a cab to the suburbs, but I had no idea this decision would nearly kill me. Changyuan Cemetery graves as far as the eye could see. I climbed the stone steps, still muttering, Ghost Festival, gates of hell open. If I weren't so broke, I'd never step out today. Soon I found tombstone 1106, but next to it was a weed-covered slope, 1107. I spotted it, half buried in the grass, an old stone tablet, looking older than the rest. Get money for a cemetery plot, but not enough for a good spot. I grumbled, laid out the incense, candles, and paper money, then yelled at the top of my lungs, Tishengsheng, come collect your money for the festival. Tishengsheng, take your money. After shouting his name 3 times, the paper money was almost burned up. I filmed a video and sent it to the client, turned around to leave, but just then, my phone rang sharply. It was the client. I answered with a smile, boss, satisfied. Who did I burn it for? That's not my grandpa's grave. On the other end, a girl's voice was practically exploding with rage. I froze, then ran back, pushed aside the weeds, and the stone tablet, a faded black and white photo of a young woman. You call yourself a century-old shop? You can't even get the grave right. I hung up immediately. Damn, I burned the wrong grave. I looked at the photo of that 18 or 19-year-old girl. Delicate features, a true beauty. What a shame, so young. I let out a sigh. Just a little kindness from a passerby. It was getting dark. I was about to slip away. I'd come back tomorrow to make it up to the old man. But just as I stood up, a voice whispered right in my ear, little brother. The voice was soft and gentle, yet it made my scalp instantly tingle. Who's there? I spun around sharply. All around me, nothing but tombstones. Not a ghost in sight. Must be hearing things. I gasped for breath, my back already drenched in cold sweat. I steadied myself. For some reason, I glanced at that stone tablet again. This time, I froze in the spot. The girl in the photo, who had been expressionless, had a strange smile curling at the corner of her mouth. I was scared out of my wits. I scrambled and crawled, racing down the mountain. She smiled. She smiled. I definitely didn't imagine it. I sprinted all the way to the cemetery gate. My heart was pounding so fast it felt like it would leap out of my throat. It was pitch black and no cabs were around, so I had to wait for the last bus. Damn, ghosts really exist in this world. I muttered to myself to keep my courage up, but my body felt heavier and heavier, as if I were carrying a stone on my back. Soon the bus arrived. I staggered on board, tossed in a random bill. Driver, call me at Osment Street. The driver had been lounging lazily, but the moment his eyes flicked to me, he jolted as if electrocuted. He sat bolt upright, shut his eyes, and refused to look at me again. Weird, I muttered. Found a seat by the window and fell asleep. A screech of brakes jolted me awake. We're here. I dragged my heavy body off the bus. As I passed the driver, I noticed him twisting in an extremely awkward posture, avoiding my gaze. Once I was far enough, the driver whipped his head around. face drenched in cold sweat, waving frantically at the air. What the hell is that kid carrying on his back? Of course, I couldn't hear him. I just felt like I was working through mud, every step unbearably heavy. As soon as I entered the alley, I couldn't hold on anymore. I leaned against the wall, panting. Damn, why is it so heavy? The moonlight above shone on a small puddle, and the ground. I glanced down without thinking. In the puddle, I saw my face reflected, and on my shoulder, a pale, slender hand was resting. What the hell? My head buzzed. I spun around and flung it off. A slender figure was tossed in front of me, but those hands clung tightly around my neck. Little brother, you really don't know how to treat a lady. A sweet, coquettish voice whispered right by my ear. I looked up in terror. Our eyes met. A face of stunning beauty clad in a red dress, unbelievably gorgeous, and unbelievably cold. Not a trace of color. It was the woman from the tombstone. Little brother, am I pretty? She flashed me a smile, and a hint of shyness even flickered across her face. Pretty? My mind went blank. I nodded uncontrollably. Since you think I'm pretty, then come with me, okay? She tugged at my collar, her eyes seductive as she leaned in. I was about to speak, when a cold, soft touch sealed my lips. Soft, smooth, sweet. My Adam's apple bobbed hard, just as my mind went hazy, and I felt my whole body wrapped in eerie red light. Asterisk thump asterisk a heavy sound came from deep in the alley. The red-clad ghost in my arms jerked her head up, her eyes sharp as knives, scanning the darkness. I shuddered violently. In an instant, I was fully awake. Before me was no beauty at all, only a face so pale it was terrifying. Damn it, it didn't come. I don't know where I found the strength. I shoved him away. Stumbling and crawling, I rushed toward my paper funeral shop. In a crisis, it can save your life. Grandpa's words exploded in my mind. I burst inside and yanked the Taoist robe off the wall. Without a second thought, I threw it on. Grandpa, whether your precious grandson survives is on you now. Fumbling frantically, I fastened the collar. Suddenly, I felt something in the lining, a letter, and a jade pendant. The moment the jade pendant touched my hand, a wave of warmth flowed through me. My wildly pounding heart actually calmed a little. I tore open the letter impatiently. Dear grandson Lin Mo, your nature is like an object long and stubborn. But I only understood a few things. Grandpa was a Buddhist Taoist. This shop receives ghosts at night. 2. This jade pendant can absorb ghost energy for cultivation. 3. Grandpa invited a deity. Relying on this courtyard, I bought you a year to cultivate. Reading this, my whole body trembled. So ghosts really exist. But right after, a line of small text at the end of the letter almost made me spit blood. Dear grandson, knowing your personality, you'll find this letter right away. Surprised, unexpected, I'll give you unexpected, you big-headed ghost. Is this something a human does? If you had a backup plan, why not say it sooner? You had to play riddles. I was so furious I wanted to tear the letter up. I flipped it over, only to find more words on the back. Dear grandson, remember, next year, after the Ghost Festival, a grand calamity will come. If it arrives before Frost's descent, you'll be safe. If it hasn't come by then, once this matter passes, flee immediately. That step, you will surely die. My head buzzed. What the hell is a grand calamity? Most importantly, I only saw this damn letter now. That so-called 1-year protection period had already passed long ago. Damn it, I clutched my head and howled in agony. And right at that moment, that seductive voice came from outside the door. Young master, feeling troubled, come out and let this humble one keep you company. Hearing that voice, all my fear instantly turned to rage. Either way, and dead, scream all you want. Isn't it just death? At worst, I'll transmigrate again. Wearing the Taoist robe, I kicked the door open, pointing at the red-clad female ghost floating in the courtyard. I cursed, but my momentum instantly faltered. Come at me. The red-clad female ghost smiled seductively and floated straight toward me. Just as her face was about to touch mine, boom, the Taoist robe on me suddenly burst with a golden light. The red-clad female ghost screamed in agony, blasted back several meters. Black veins appeared on her face. I froze. Looking down, golden light flowed on the robe. It actually worked. Damn, my courage instantly swelled. I stepped up onto the porch, flung the robe aside, and crooked my finger at her. I thought you were something fierce. Come on, try hitting me now. But my cool lasted less than 3 seconds. Before the words faded, a bone-piercing chill came from my knee, uncovered by the robe. I dropped to my knees with a thud. My knee instantly turned blue with cold. Young master, a celestial master's robe can protect you for a while, but not forever. The red-clad female ghost's voice whispered in my ear, laced with mockery. Let's take it slow. Once your spiritual power runs out, your vital essence will be mine. Despair, my heart turned to ice. Just then, suddenly, a thought struck me. Wait, you just want my vital essence, right? What if I give it to you? She twisted her form, her face nearly pressing against mine, then asked with interest, give it and you die? Refuse and you die in the end anyway. But right now, what I need most is time. Time to cultivate. The true man knows when to bend and when to stand tall. I can grit my teeth and bear it, but I have one condition. My vital energy is limited. You can't drain it all at once. Each day, you can only take 1% of me for 100 days. After 100 days, this life of mine is yours. As I finished, my heart leaped into my throat. Who knew he'd stare at me, barely hesitate, and then smile? Fine, no problem. I was dumbfounded. I'd offered too much, and he agreed too readily. That only made my skin crawl. Then how do I give it? I forced myself to ask. He didn't answer. He just rose on his tiptoes, his eyes like silk threads, and slowly leaned in toward me, parting those tempting red lips. Instinctively, my Adam's apple bobbed. In that moment, I understood at once. He wasn't afraid of me stalling for time at all. With that soul-stealing, heart-snatching look of his, let alone 100 days, I feared I couldn't even last one. Damn it, I wrapped my robe tight, scrambled back into the house, and slammed the door shut with a bang. From the courtyard came his teasing, silvery laugh. Little master, don't be afraid. Some flavors, once tasted, can never be given up. Refuse, and you die in the end anyway. But right now, what I need most is time. Time to cultivate. The true man knows when to bend and when to stand tall. I can grit my teeth and bear it, but I have one condition. My vital energy is limited. You can't drain it all at once. Each day, you can only take 1% of me for 100 days. After 100 days, this life of mine is yours. As I finished, my heart leaped into my throat. Who knew he'd stare at me, barely hesitate, and then smile? Fine, no problem. I was dumbfounded. I'd offered too much, and he agreed too readily. That only made my skin crawl. Then how do I give it? I forced myself to ask. He didn't answer. He just rose on his tiptoes, his eyes like silk threads, and slowly leaned in toward me, parting those tempting red lips. Instinctively, my Adam's apple bobbed. In that moment, I understood at once. He wasn't afraid of me stalling for time at all. With that soul-stealing, heart-snatching look of his, let alone 100 days, I feared I couldn't even last one day. I wrapped my robe tight, scrambled back into the house, and slammed the door shut with a bang. From the courtyard came his teasing, silvery laugh. Little master, don't be afraid. Some flavors, once tasted, can never be given up. I lay in bed, rubbing my frostbitten hands and feet. My mind a churning mess. This world really does have ghosts. Right outside my door floated a female ghost who wanted to drain my vital energy, and I'd been foolish enough to agree to an installment plan. Just thinking of that beauty made me ache deep inside. Worse still, grandfather's, may the gods bless me, talisman. That year's charm expired today, meaning, from midnight to night, this shop of mine would officially open for business. Run. I had to run. Once that fort surfaced, it grew like wildfire. I'd buy a ticket at dawn and get out. Go abroad, but what about money? Suddenly I remembered something I'd seen in the group chat a few days ago. Overseas high-paying recruitment for actors. I'd been an extra before I crossed over. Wasn't that a perfect match? Even if I crossed over, they probably won't harvest my ardens abroad, right? I muttered, and before I knew it, I drifted off to sleep. But reality struck faster than any nightmare. A sharp pain in my leg jolted me awake. The purplish skin reminded me that none of last night was a dream. Damn it, I felt so wronged I wanted to cry. The transmigrators get golden fingers that ring with power. I get haunted by a ghost that makes me howl in agony. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. 12:01 a.m. Just past midnight. Damn, what an unlucky sign. I was so pissed I wanted to throw the phone away. But just then, a knock came at the door. Thump, 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 thump. One knock after another. Exactly 4 times, no more, no less. A ghost knocking. What did that female ghost want now? My first thought was that her knocking would never end, like a death warrant. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my Taoist robe, yanked the door open, and found a burly man built like an iron tower standing outside, his face covered in scars. "K." His voice boomed like thunder. "Are you open for business or not?" My ears rang from the blast. I was about to curse him out, when it suddenly hit me it was a new day. I had to run the shop. I looked down. Sure enough, the Taoist robe was glowing with golden light. "He's a ghost." I stared, wide-eyed, and asked, "No shit. If I weren't a ghost, why would I come to your Zheiyun tower? Give me." My mind went blank. With a slap, I slammed the door shut. "K." The burly man outside cursed furiously, kicking the threshold again and again. I crouched on the ground, clutching my head. I didn't expect customers to come so fast. The red-clad female ghost's voice drifted over faintly. "Running a yin path business can't gather customers. I don't want to do this." I roared in irritation. Once you take the post, there's no room for you to back out." His words were like a bucket of cold water, drenching me to the bone. The pounding on the door and the curses outside grew louder. I felt my own temper flare up, rushing straight to my head. Scared, sure, but even a cornered rabbit will bite. "Damn it, what are you knocking for?" I yanked the door open again, pointing at his nose and cursing. "Your Zheiyun tower sure throws its weight around. The burly man pointed back at me. Believe it or not, I'll call the ghosts around here to rip off your skull. My heart stirred. I caught a few key words: Jayun Tower, Danyun Festival, Yin Path Rules. I took a deep breath, mimicking the tone my grandfather used in his heart. Feigning experience, I asked, what do you want? 3 everlasting lamps, 5 guide incense sticks, 800 taels of pure gold, full weight. He rattled off a list instantly. I instinctively glanced at the paper offerings in the backyard. They seemed to match up. All right, come in. I nodded, and stopped kicking my damn threshold. The burly man snorted and stepped inside, but just before entering, he shot me a sidelong glance, deliberately kicking the door frame a few more times with a bang. So what if I kicked it? He worked up to me, and only then did I get a clear look at his face. It was a swollen, bloated giant's visage, so disgusting I wanted to vomit. Suppressing the nausea, I turned to fetch the items. But just then, he suddenly spoke. Wait, the burly man stared hard at me, his tone turning sarcastic. You don't have any cultivation, do you? My heart skipped a beat. I stayed silent, only instinctively tightening the Taoist robe on me. Seeing this move, he suddenly grinned wide. A stream of pus dripped from the corner of his mouth. By what? Tar. He lurched toward the wall path, sneering, you've got no cultivation and still work the yin path. Rubbing you would be faster. Before the words faded, a mountain of flesh charged at me. Terrified, I turned and ran, but still got hit head on. PFFTO damn. What the hell are you wearing? The burly man let out a scream. The Taoist robe on me burned him, making him smoke all over. Stumbling back a few steps, I dared not stop, and bolted for the backyard. Step right there. The burly man charged again recklessly, fast as lightning, sending me flying 3 meters away. I lay on the ground, feeling like my organs had shifted. The burly man rubbed his scorched body, his murky green eyes fixed on me. Clearly, he was figuring out how to strip this robe off me. Just as I was in despair, a voice rang out. Little brother. I looked up. The red-clad female ghost stood on the wall, smiling as she held up 5 fingers to me. What does that mean? Before I could figure it out, the burly man charged again. I was sent flying straight to the center of the yard. Looking back, the ghost on the wall shook those 5 fingers, her eyes full of gleeful scheming. I got it instantly. Damn, 5 rescues 5 times. Save me. I yelled at the top of my lungs. Big sister, the red-clad female ghost smirked in triumph, her form flickering as she floated right in front of me. The burly man froze, caught off guard. A flash of cold light in the ghost's eyes. A piercing, miserable scream. The burly man was blasted into a rain of flesh. Strangely, the pieces quickly reformed, though his form was much fainter. Little brother, can I eat him? The ghost turned back, asking me with an innocent look. Terrified, I stumbled backward. What kind of ghost is this? The reformed burly man shrieked in terror. How does Jayun Tower have someone as strong as you? Isn't old man Lin dead? The female ghost only cast him a cold sidelong glance. That burly man was so terrified he scattered again. It took him ages to reform. Young master, add 5 more rounds. I'll help you devour him completely. He licked his lips, his eyes brimming with craving. Before I could speak, the burly man, who had just coalesced, suddenly with a asterisk puff asterisk, tore off one of his own arms and threw it before me. Little boss, I don't want the goods anymore. This is the deposit. Please, let me go. As he spoke, he wailed miserably toward the door. No fighting within Kaiyun Tower. That's the rule of Yin Road. Where are the 4 wandering spirits? When the red-clad female ghost heard 4 wandering spirits, her brows arched, but her face showed pure disdain. I understood at once. Something outside was protecting the burly man's life. Yet the red-clad female ghost didn't seem afraid of me. I made a snap decision and dashed into the back courtyard, packed up what the burly man wanted and tossed it over. He grabbed the bundle and fled without looking back. His form had shrunk by a full size. Just then, the jade pendant in my pocket suddenly grew hot. I worked over to the severed arm and took out the pendant. In an instant, the arm turned into a black wisp and was sucked inside. So that's how it works. My heart jolted. Young master, the red-clad female ghost's voice came. I turned around. There she was, winking and puckering her red lips. Time to collect. I gritted my teeth, pulled off half my robe, stuck out my chest, and worked over. Asterisk MWAR asterisk 5 kisses done. I felt my legs go weak, my vision darkening in waves. Alright. I staggered back into the room, feeling completely drained, enduring humiliation to survive, selling my essence for peace. I sighed, no longer hesitating, bit my finger and dripped blood onto the jade pendant. In an instant, a torrent of obscure, jagged text flooded into my mind. The Ziwu Ju and Yang chapter. The ghostly energy absorbed by the pendant turned into a clear light, flowing through every limb and bone. Finally, I've begun cultivation. The next day, I slept straight until afternoon. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw over 20 missed calls on my phone, and a pile of texts. Boss, save me. You bastard, burning paper all over the place. My grandfather's back. It was yesterday's client. My heart skipped a beat. A wave of dread washed over me. Damn it, don't tell me it's that screwed up. One female ghost wasn't enough. Now another one. I quickly called back. No answer. Sent a text, nothing. Damn, hope nothing's really happened. I put down my phone and began sensing the changes in my body. The Zi Wu Ju and Yan chapter flowed through my mind. I felt a surge of heat rampaging inside me, finally settling in my danshin. And the essence that the female ghost had drained had actually been replenished. This technique is incredible. I tried to channel the power of the old house. With a fart, asterisk whoosh asterisk, the front door swung open without a breeze. Amazing. I felt as if I had become one with this house. I rummaged through my grandfather's belongings and found an old chest filled with ancient books, all about how to run a paper offering shop, how to craft spirit instruments, even alchemy and talisman drawing. That unreliable old man. I couldn't help cursing again. If I'd found these sooner, I wouldn't have ended up so pathetic. In one small booklet, I found records of my grandfather receiving ghosts, and repeated mentions of people like Cripple and Cook, four wandering spirits. I had a guess forming. Before I knew it, night had fallen again. I sat behind the counter, my heart in turmoil, like a nervous bride waiting for her groom. Young master. The red-clad female ghost was back, seductively sitting across from me, recording on Douyin. This meal won't be easy to swallow. Better to start with how I savor the blissful, soaring sensation. He leaned in close to me, nearly touching, breathing in sync. I could tell the old mansion's power was useless against him. Little brother, don't get any wicked ideas. He looked at me with a grin, as if he had me cornered. I kept my eyes shut tight, silently chanting, hear no evil, see no evil. After all, what he wanted was my surprise. As long as I didn't give in, the advantage was mine. Just then, from outside the door came four more knocks. Thump, thump, thump. I took a deep breath. A dark shadow burst in with a roar. Instinctively, I summoned the old mansion's power. Bang! The two doors slammed shut hard, sending the shadow flying out. I breathed a sigh of relief. The mansion's strength gave me confidence. I opened the door. A scrawny ghost, looking like a little drillwind, lay dazed on the ground. What do you want to buy? I asked. The drillwing ghost scrambled up, hands on hips, and roared, Par, tid. Without a word, I slammed my palm on the counter. Smack! The doors shut again, crushing the drillwing ghost into a pile of black ash. When the doors reopened, the ghost wobbled back up, glanced at the doors in terror, and fled. Seeing this, I froze for a moment, then couldn't help but curse, damn. These things aren't so fierce after all. It suddenly clicked for me. Dealing with ghosts isn't about the lore. It's about the lore of the jungle. As long as I'm tough enough, strong enough, just go for it. Just then, a violently deceased ghost, dragging its entrails, strode in. Little beast, your grandpa's here. He slapped a length of intestine onto the ground, menacing. Old ghost Lin is dead, and the wandering spirits are gone. Kid, your good days are over. Carrying his bluster. I narrowed my eyes on the spot, and clenched my fists. Kane, you little bastard, did you hear me? The violent ghost saw me sitting upright, thinking I was scared stiff, and actually strode toward me, his twisted face full of reckless glee, watching him close in step by step. Bang! I slammed my hand on the table, channeling the mansion's power. If I'm going to fight, I can't back down. With a hum, an invisible pressure rippled through the shop, pinning him down instantly. Before he could react, a massive force dragged him toward the door. Boss, you dare! Before he could finish, the two doors slammed shut with a bang, the sound making the violent ghost shudder all over, the arrogance on his face vanishing. Seeing him so cowardly, I finally let out a sigh of relief. So the old mansion's power really can keep these blind fools in check. Phew! I slowly stood up straight, staring at the violent ghost sprawled on the ground. He stared back with wide eyes, probably cursing me in his head. He was already so fierce, with his entrails striding so long. How dare this kid still fight back? Where did he get his cultivation? To be honest, I wasn't scared, just more disgusted. That gut-spilling, rotting look was truly nauseating. What do you want to buy? I asked sternly, but the violent ghost opened his mouth and spat, little bastard. My face darkened. I cursed under my breath, and without another word, I summoned the mansion's power. Bang, bang, bang. A series of impacts, like an invisible giant hammer, rained down on him. After a few heavy blows, the violent ghost's form shrank by a full head. He was smashed flat as a pancake. The look in his eyes when he stared at me had lost all its earlier arrogance, leaving only terror. This kid wasn't a pushover. He must have started getting nervous inside. Stammering, he begged for mercy. I'm not buying anything, just browsing. Let me go. Even as he spoke, he was cursing me in his mind countless times. To the hell, said old Taoist Lin's grandson was easy to bully. The murderous glint in this kid's eyes marked him as a ruthless bastard. He'd thought he could score some easy money, but instead got jack shit. He struggled desperately, but that pressure held him like chains, and he couldn't move an inch. Finally, he had no choice left. He looked up at me. What the hell do you want? You stepped through the door of my Zheyuan tower. What do you think I want? I asked with a sly smile. HMPH, damn freak. He yelled at the top of his lungs. I'm not here to buy. Bang. I slammed my palm hard on the table again. The pressure crashed down once more. No way. Once you're in you have to buy. You must spend. That move, instead, sparked his stubborn temper. He looked up and roared, bullshit. I won't buy, so what? Even your grandpa old Taoist Lin wouldn't force a sale. You little. He stopped mid-sentence, suddenly trembling all over in fear. Because I had stood up, walking toward him, I took off my Taoist robe. Seeing my stance, it was clear I was about to throw this ghost-trapping thing right over his head. You little bastard, what are you doing? K, friend, don't mess around, brother. Let's torque this out, bro. As I reached him, the golden Taoist robe was about to descend. I'll buy. The vengeful ghost, staring at the robe in my hand, almost cried as he shouted, what do you want? I immediately put on a warm, friendly smile, but the guy hemmed and hawed for ages, unable to spit out a single word. Speak, I barked, and he flinched again. On his twisted face, a hint of grievance actually appeared. What are you selling? I glared. Incense, paper money, gold and silver ingots. Then gold ingots, he stammered. He forced the words out, stuttering. I turned, grabbed a bag of gold ingots from the counter, and dropped it at his feet. K up. No, give me ghost energy. He looked at the ingots on the ground, then at me, one hand clenched in a fist, the other gripping the Taoist robe. His lips trembled for a long time. Finally, he gritted his teeth. With a *PFFT* sound, a section of intestine fell to the ground. His entire form instantly became a bit more translucent. I glanced disdainfully at that disgusting thing, then with a thought withdrew the pressure. My body felt light. The violent ghost grabbed the gold ingots and bolted. Once outside the door, he dared to yell, you beast. Forcing a sale. Even your grandpa wasn't this ruthless. You're in for it. I just closed the door. Letting out a heavy breath, I collapsed into the old armchair, hand on my chest. Damn, that was intense. Really fucking intense. Just then, the red-dressed female ghost flickered before me, eyeing me with keen interest. Little brother, you've got guts. Forcing a sale, you actually did it. I quickly straightened my Taoist robe, watching her warily. Aren't you afraid the mob of ghosts will storm your Zheyuan tower? These creatures have low intelligence but fierce tempers. Once provoked, they'll turn on anyone. She added lightly. After all, they died in a daze. Why would they care about dying again? Low intelligence but fierce tempers. My heart skipped a beat. Seeing my confused look, she flipped over and sat on the counter, stretching out her slender finger and wagging it at me. Don't be fooled by their appearance. After all creatures are savage by nature. Hearing this, I frowned deeply, but I wasn't in the mood to debate philosophy with him. Simply put, I didn't trust him at all. I worked past him to the severed intestine. I took out the jade pendant. The next moment, the severed intestine turned into a wisp of black kai. It was completely absorbed by the jade pendant. A wave of warmth instantly spread through my body. I couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Everything was going smoothly. Seeing that I ignored her, the red-clad female ghost grew bored. With a flicker, she vanished. Only then did I fully relax. That female ghost put too much pressure on me. Would the talismans in the old house even work on her? I had no confidence at all. Besides, when those two ghosts entered earlier, she was right there beside them. Yet they acted as if they hadn't seen her. There were only two possibilities. Either those two ghosts were blind, or this female ghost was so terrifying that it was beyond my imagination. I leaned toward the second option. That also meant getting rid of her would be nearly impossible. As for what she said about provoking wild ghosts, I had my own thoughts. With Grandpa dead, and the night patrol god withdrawn, this Zheyuan tower had become a prime target for wandering souls. Since that was the case, then let's just get it done. Where there's oppression, there's resistance. At worst, I'll oppress them a little less later. Tu told me I'm short on ghost tools now. I grumbled inwardly. Anyway, as long as ghosts came through the door, this business had to be done forcibly if necessary. If it came down to who was fiercer, I'd show them. I leaned back in my chair, thinking until I unknowingly drifted off to sleep, until a chill wind jolted me awake. The moment I opened my eyes, the red-clad female ghost stood right before me. She pouted slightly, and crooked her finger at me. This woman was here to collect again. I picked up my phone and saw Dawn was near. Resigned, I stood up, pulled off half my robe, and hesitantly moved closer. After one sip, my legs felt weak as I stepped back, my vision blurred. The red-clad female ghost licked her red lips with satisfaction, blew me a wink, and vanished. Just then, the rooster crowed. Evil spirits retreated. I sighed in relief, went back to my room, and lay down. I stroked the jade pendant in my hand. A clear light merged into my limbs and bones, finally gathering in my dantian. Not only was the drained vitality instantly restored, but the heat within my body had more than doubled. I tried to channel it. A wave of warmth instantly covered a third of my body. Then it retracted back into my dantian. A few more times, and this energy might fill my entire body. I closed my eyes and silently recited the midnight severing heaven art. The heaven Arjun Jade's true power was now fully revealed. If not for these two encounters, relying on my own bit of cultivation alone, who knows how long it would have taken. What a pity only one fool came all night. I suddenly felt regret. I regretted that too few ghosts had come last night. If there had been more, maybe by tonight I could have cultivated that energy to cover my entire body. Then I'd kick evil spirits aside and punch vicious ghosts. The one I'd hit hardest was that red-clad female ghost. Not just hit her, I'd pin her down, cover her mouth, and look down at her, saying, "You like sucking, don't you? Come on, suck for me. Dream on." I glanced at my phone. That client still hadn't called. He sheng and murmured, and drifted off to sleep with a hint of worry. At the same time, the sky began to pale. From the depths came murmurs of ghosts. Damn, this kid is real at that fierce, forcing a sale, how dare he? Aren't you afraid we'll go berserk? When I go berserk, even a passing dog gets bitten. It's darn, let's go, let's go. When night falls, we'll all go berserk and bite him to death. At daybreak, the atmosphere was tense in a top private hospital in Nanbei. In the high-end ward lay one man and two women. Then the bed by the door, a pale-faced man with sunken eyes and dark circles under his eyes. Though clearly unconscious, his body trembled at times, and at others, he bared his teeth with a grinding sound, his gums engorged and about to burst. Several nurses tried to restrain him, but the moment they touched his skin, they yanked their hands back in fright. His skin is so cold. Director, it's cold as ice. The old man called. Director stared at the monitors. Keep giving him sedatives. One injection later, the man only calmed down for a few breaths, before struggling wildly again, his arms twisting at unnatural angles, as if trying to push himself off the bed. Seeing this, everyone gasped. They watched closely. The old director took a deep breath and said, "No one dared to back down." Because lying on that bed was Yanbei's top tycoon, He Tangxing, chairman of the Heshi Group, along with his wife and daughter. Suddenly, a nurse cried out, "She's awake, she's awake." The young miss is awake. In the bed before him, the young girl frowned deeply, as if she had endured extreme terror. Her eyelids twitched violently, then snapped open. "Bar!" The terrified scream echoed through the ward. On my end, I woke up after sleeping less than 2 hours. My client's situation still weighed on my mind. Worshipping the wrong grave in the underworld is like marrying the wrong person in the living world. Now I'd offended not just one red-dressed female ghost, but also He Shengsheng, who should have been enjoying his offerings. I pulled out the ancient book my grandfather left me, and started cramming on ways to deal with ghosts. Already preparing for the worst. Ghosts fear willow branches. Spirits fear peach wood. I flipped through the pages, silently memorizing, looking like a model student. Just then, my phone suddenly rang. I answered instinctively. "No, 8, Ganyuan West Street, Kinhui District. I'll be waiting for you here." A weak, exhausted female voice came through the line. I immediately realized it was my client, Ki Yorn. It seemed, the situation I dreaded most had come to pass. Coming now. I hung up. I rummaged through the shop for a long time, finally just slinging a backpack over my shoulder, stuffing the Taoist robe inside. The old house's power only worked within the shop. Once outside, I'd have to rely on myself. The willow branches and peach wood recorded in the book all required cultivation to use. Even if an ordinary person held them, they'd have to withstand the ghost's counterattack. Nothing can happen in broad daylight, right? Though reluctant. Since I was the cause of this, I had to go. Before leaving, I grabbed a sack and stuffed it with incense, candles, and paper money as an apology gift. I took a cab to No. 8, Ganyuan West Street. I immediately spotted the girl sitting under a sun umbrella outside the coffee shop. Though far away, I could sense something was off about her. As I was thinking, a group of black-suited men surrounded me from all directions. I barely sensed something wrong, when a pair of hands grabbed me from behind. Damn it, my heart sank. Before I could speak, someone covered my mouth. Several burly men formed a circle and dragged me straight to the sun umbrella. Only then did I get a clear look at the girl. She was wearing a hospital gown, but her face was terrifyingly pale, delicate features, and she radiated exhaustion. "Are you Hyeon?" I asked hesitantly. Ling Mu, 21 years old, dropped out of college sophomore year, returned to the old town to inherit my grandfather's paper shop, barely scraping by selling incense and paper money. "You're Hyeon?" "1 meal a day." Hyeon stared at me. Her weak voice was filled with barely contained fury. I was taken aback. I hadn't expected to be investigated so thoroughly the moment I stepped out, especially that line about barely scraping by. It made me instinctively touch my nose. Damn, she hit the mark. Just a year ago, I'd gone days with only 1 meal. Seeing his expression, what happened? I already had a pretty good guess. Sticking to the principle of admitting mistakes and taking my punishment standing straight, I directly said, "Give me your hand." As I recalled knowledge from ancient texts, I reached out and placed my hand on his arm. Ki-yeon was still furious, but hesitated and didn't pull away. She even used her eyes to stop the restless black-suited thugs. At that moment, she was like a drowning person, desperately grasping for a lifeline. If I were just an ordinary charlatan, I'd have to pay for my mistake. But if I really had a way, then I was the lifeline she was looking for. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. I just gathered the surge of heat in my fingertips and slowly channeled it into his body. In an instant, a chill feedback came from him, then gradually dissipated under my heat. It worked. I breathed a sigh of relief. The yin energy on him felt somewhat similar to when the red-clad female ghost tormented me, only much weaker. Ki-yeon immediately felt a warm current enveloping her arm, as if the bone-chilling cold throughout her body had eased a bit. He couldn't help but exhale, and a visible flush returned to his face. Seeing this, I was about to withdraw my hand and tentatively asked, "Feeling better?" But he reacted faster, grabbing my wrist in return, refusing to let go no matter what. "You really can deal with these things," he said urgently. "Come with me to the hospital now to save my parents." Hearing that, my heart skipped a beat again. Saving people wasn't hard, but I was only treating the symptoms, not the root. The key was that old ghost had left the paper funeral shop. I wasn't sure I could handle it. Before I could speak, the surrounding black-suited thugs were already cracking their knuckles. No strunarming. I quickly stepped back a few paces, eyes full of caution. "Missy, visiting the wrong grave was my fault. I sincerely apologize and am willing to take responsibility." But I gave an awkward smile, about to say I wasn't confident, but the word stuck in my throat. "I have my difficulties. Can you wait a bit?" No sooner had he spoken, Ki-yeon's face flushed red instantly. From anger, she didn't speak, just gave a look, and the thugs closed in. In the distance, black luxury cars pulled up, all with matching vanity plates. This was clearly a forced escort. "Kid, if you get the job done, the Heshi group will reward you handsomely. If you fail, Lakewater Bay will be your grave," the thug holding me threatened in a low voice. I wasn't bothered by the threat, but I caught a keyword, Heshi Group, the leading corporation in Yanbei, with assets in the hundreds of billions, a household name among the elite. Looking at the fleet of luxury cars and bodyguards, a sudden surge hit me. The power of poverty. "Wait, you mean the Heshi Group? It's hard to cooperate if things aren't clear." I shoved aside the thug beside me, and under everyone's puzzled gaze, my demeanor shifted dramatically. Helping others is my virtue. Admitting mistakes is my motto. Most importantly, serving the Heshi Group is my duty without hesitation, I declared loudly, hoisting the sack I'd brought onto my back. "Which car do I take? Don't just stand there, let's go." Everyone watched me rush toward the car in a hurry, all a bit slow to react. A bodyguard supporting Ki-yeon asked softly, "Miss, let's go." Ki-yeon shook her head. Now she had no other choice. Soon she got into the car. I sat in the luxury family car, surrounded by a group of bodyguards with hostile looks. Though it grated on me, I was already scheming in my mind. Originally, dealing with that old fiend He Shengsheng, I really didn't have full confidence. I still needed time. But if the opponent was a money god like the He Group, then the situation was different. After all, poverty is the best ripener. It makes a person mature overnight. Old man he might have made 1,000 mistakes, but at worst, he just prayed at the wrong grave. It's not some deep, irreconcilable grudge. As I silently recited this to myself, I tidied the gold and silver ingots in the sack. This apology's sincerity was definitely enough. After a while, the convoy drove into a private hospital on the outskirts. Getting out of the car, Ki-yeon came straight to me, her tone grave. "Do you have what it takes to deal with him?" Hearing this, I frowned slightly. "Let's go up and take a look first. I can't guarantee anything else, but at least I can make your parents feel better. We'll talk about the rest later." I tossed out that line and headed straight for the elevator. When I reached the second floor, no one needed to guide me. I could already feel a bone-piercing chill gathering in the ward at the end of the corridor. Without a word, I picked up the sack and strode over. "How does he know the master and madam are there?" the bodyguard muttered in confusion. Seeing this, Ki-yeon's tense heartstrings loosened slightly, and her eyes couldn't help but redden. The past 2 days had nearly crushed her. She composed herself, about to follow ahead, when suddenly arguing erupted from the ward. The loudest voice was mine. "Uncle Zhang, go check." Ki-yeon, supported by someone, hesitated to go. Inside the ward, a doctor was guarding the hospital bed, while others blocked my way. "Kid, this is the latest thermostat. Don't mess around. Get out of my way," I said irritably, my gaze fixed on the middle-aged man on the bed. He was trapped inside a machine, like a roast duck. This thing looked high-tech, but in my perception, this man was full of yin energy, already frozen solid like a block of ice. Within 3 days, he'd be dead for sure. "Move aside." I'll show you a miracle, just like that. I sighed helplessly, trying to persuade them. But to the doctors, it sounded like a charlatan's nonsense. Get him out, throw him out. A few doctors tried to push me away. Then He-yon and the old hospital director appeared. Just then, everyone stopped. Director Chen Cheng ordered. The doctors were about to complain, but He-yon pulled the old director aside and whispered a few words. I ignored the commotion at the door, struggling to lift the so-called thermostat. The moment I touched the middle-aged man, a wave of icy cold made me shiver. Damn, this isn't right. The yin energy is at its peak. I turned around, just in time to see the old director pointing at the doctors and saying, "You all step out first." After they reluctantly left, He-yon immediately came to my side. "How is it? Tough?" I pinched my brow. "Go find some willow branches. Old trunk, new shoots. The more leaves, the better. There's some in the green belt downstairs." He-yon froze, seeming not quite trusting. Fine, I'll go myself." I turned to run. He turned to flee. The bodyguard at the door immediately blocked me. Another turned and ran out. In less than a minute, that man came back carrying a big pile of willow branches. I grabbed a few and held them in my hand. I could still faintly hear the doctors at the door sneering in disdain. "Damn it," I muttered under my breath. Anyway, no names were named. Those doctors indeed took the bait. Kiki's face darkened. I turned around, lifted the cover, grabbed the willow branches, and lashed them hard at the middle-aged man. A sharp crack rang out, but the next second, a strange sound echoed through the ward. The willow branches, soft as they were, struck his body like red-hot branding irons. Kidding ice. It was a piercing noise that made everyone outside the door change color. The bodyguards immediately shielded He-yon behind them, their faces tense and uncertain. What was that sound? It makes my scalp tingle. This kid must be playing tricks. One doctor insisted stubbornly, but I feel like it's real. Look, the willow branches are almost smoking. Enough. The old director barked, ordering all medical staff to leave. Then he looked at He-yon with a complex gaze, shaking his head slightly. I've seen some people before, but I was too insignificant to reach them. I never expected Miss He to have such connections, actually contacting people from that place. People from that place. He-yon's heart stirred. She instinctively looked at me, seeing me lash again and again. With each strike, the middle-aged man's body emitted a wave of intangible chill, then vanished into thin air. It's working. When most of the yin energy on him was gone, I put down the willow branches. At this moment, the middle-aged man's face had lost its ferocity, his complexion returning to normal. Can't check him," I called to the old director. He hurried over to examine him, while I went to another bed, where a well-preserved woman lay, her face equally pale. Still okay. There's not much yin energy on her." I squeezed the whip down, then used my hand to forcibly disperse the yin energy. The effect was immediate. The woman's eyelids fluttered, and she sat up abruptly, instinctively grabbing me tightly. He-yon ran over crying. Startled by her sobs, I silently withdrew my hand, watching the mother and daughter embrace and weep. I took a deep breath, walked to the ward door, atoned for past wrongs. Now, this situation finally eased my mind a bit, but my brow remained furrowed. What kind of grudge could make He Shengsheng take such revenge on his own descendants? I instinctively reached for a cigarette, then remembered I'd quit. Half an hour later, He-yon came over, her eyes red from crying. "Just call me Lin Mo," she said. I smiled, then immediately turned serious. "Tell me, what exactly happened before?" She composed herself and sat beside me, her shoulders still trembling slightly. "It was right after midnight on Ghost Festival. He came back. We suddenly felt a bone-chilling cold, and heard heavy footsteps in our ears. Step by step, they seemed to get closer. I bravely walked out of the room, but no matter how I ran, the footsteps were always right in front of me, always getting closer. I couldn't see him, but I could feel he was right in front of me." At this, He-yon suddenly clutched her head, as if plunged into deep terror. "I'm used to it by now. This is nothing. I've been pinned down by a ghost and cleaned out. I've even seen guts flung right in front of me. So did you get in touch with him?" "Right now, I just want to know He Shengsheng's stance." He-yon lifted her head. First she nodded, then she shook her head. "I'm not sure what exactly happened. I can't really explain it either. I'm terrified, but I can't recall the details." "How can you not remember that?" I frowned. A bad feeling gnawed at me. Every ghost's actions stem from resentment. Why would He Shengsheng put his own family through all this? What's his endgame? I couldn't figure it out, so I set it aside for now. "Do you have time to come with me now? Are we going to deal with him?" He-yon asked at once. "Not necessarily. After all, it started because I went to the wrong grave. Since that's the case, I should handle it. We'll try civility before force." I stood up and called him. "Come with me to 2 places." "Where to?" He-yon stood up immediately, staring at me with pleading eyes. I looked at her helpless expression. and pursed my lips. I still preferred her cold, domineering side from earlier, that arrogant attitude. Soon, the convoy arrived outside of Villa. This time, the black-suited bodyguards were much more polite. They opened the car door for me without being asked. "This is my home." Kiyon stood beside the Villa, staring at it, but her eyes were filled with nothing but fear. I looked up, and silently gasped. No wonder it's the He Group, a massive villa right in the city center. Others just live near the CBD. He planted himself right in the middle of it. Filthy rich, I cursed under my breath, but kept a straight face. Don't panic. I glanced at the bodyguard beside me, hesitated for a moment, then said, "Give me a cigarette." The bodyguard was taken aback, then pulled out a pack of Janghur and handed it to me. QIZ, my eyes lit up. Another bodyguard beside him lit it for me in a flash. I didn't hold back, took a deep drag that hit the back of my throat. Bliss. Before I crossed over, I was a heavy smoker, but after crossing over, the poorer I got. In the end, I could only sigh. Poverty can cure any addiction. And now, I sneaked a glance at Kiyorn, a heiress from a conglomerate. Damn, I have to get rich. I have to get rich. I took another deep drag. Smoke choked me until my eyes rolled back. Then I flicked the butt away and strode toward the villa. Behind me, Kiyorn didn't understand my strange behavior. She looked at the bodyguard beside her, puzzled. Uncle Zhang. Uncle Zhang recalled his investigation of me, sneered inwardly. This kid's so broke he can't even afford a smoke. Inside the villa, I cleared my mind, sensed the surroundings. Surprisingly, the yin energy was scarce. I made a full round, finally found the spot with the strongest lingering yin energy, opened the sack and laid out a row of gold and silver ingots, also lit 3 incense sticks for the old man. I gave a slight bow, whispered softly. In my hand, I formed a seal I learned from my grandfather's book, the Netherworld seal. As heat surged through my body, I called out several times, but there wasn't a damn stir. Instead, Kiyorn and a group of bodyguards surrounded me, their faces full of doubt. Awkwardly, I released the seal, straightened my back and switched to the second plan. Living tomb, fearing I've breached etiquette. Today, I come with a conciliatory intent. Gold and silver pave the way. Paper money builds the bridge. I beg your pardon. Spare the descendants. After speaking, I scattered another handful of paper money, then worked a full circle around the room. Seeing the 3 incense sticks nearly burned out, I wrapped up. I turned and waved at Kiyorn. She quickly followed. Is that enough? I pulled out the Huarzi and took another blazing drag. Haven't smoked in a year, feels a bit off. People offer incense. Dose Street, to put it bluntly, is just like human relationships. If they accepted the offerings, it means they're not hard to deal with. Kiyorn finally understood why I kept staring at those spirit money and paper ingots earlier. So that's the reason. So it's all good now. He breathed a sigh of relief, but it wasn't over yet. Come with me to another place. Cigarette in mouth, I walked straight toward the luxury car. Uncle Zhang watched my unprofessional demeanor, his brows furrowed tightly, but remembering how I woke him up with just a willow branch in the hospital, he couldn't help but reconsider. By afternoon, Changyuan Public Cemetery, I brought Kiyorn to the place where I had mistaken the grave. Grave 1107. I stared at the photo on the tombstone, an old man with no hair left. His fierce face was covered in wrinkles. His eyes were eerily sunken, like 2 black holes. An inexplicable chill ran down my spine. I couldn't help but look away. A surge of indescribable ferocity pierced my back like needles, making me tense up. This time you come yourself. Devoutly offer incense to your grandfather. Say as many good words as you can. Don't worry if they're insincere. The important thing is that they're good words. I said to Kiyorn, who was kneeling on the ground. But there was one thing I didn't say. Shengxing hadn't enjoyed any incense offerings. His malevolent outburst was understandable, but not to the point of tormenting his own descendant like this. Unless, I shook my head, standing to the side, cigarette in mouth, my eyes fixed on the yin-yang ingots placed there. Kiyorn was surprisingly effective. Whether it was genuine emotion or fear, she cried while burning paper money. This went on until dusk. Seeing the sun about to set, I called for her to prepare to leave. This public cemetery has too much yin energy. It's practically a ghost den. Is it completely resolved now? Kiyorn looked at me, her tone already full of trust. It's handled. I apologized and made amends. You kowtowed and admitted your mistake. All the social niceties are taken care of. Ghosts aren't unreasonable either, I said forcefully. Kiyorn opened her mouth, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she didn't speak. When we reached the cemetery exit, I glanced back at the entrance. A group of people in their 30s and 40s were standing there. I remembered last time there was only a gap-toothed old man, but I didn't think much of it. I got straight into the car. Inside, I lounged lazily on the leather seat, feeling quite pleased with myself. Finally got rid of a big problem. Little did I know, the moment we left, that group at the cemetery gate had their eyes on our car. A kid who hasn't even entered the Dao yet. Yet his yang energy is soaring to the heavens. What a good seedling. We should keep an eye on him. Maybe we can recruit him into our department. No, wait, why does he have a trace of yin energy? Just as they were chatting, a panicked voice suddenly came through the walkie-talkie. Trouble. Something's happening in the mountain. Damn it, everyone, assemble and head up the mountain. At the same time, inside the He family villa, a strange bang echoed. The yin-yang ingots I had placed earlier exploded out of nowhere, turning into a pile of ash. The paper money was also torn to shreds in midair. On the other side, I hurried as fast as I could, and managed to return to the old alley before dark. Damn rich people, no sense of social etiquette at all. After all that effort, just a thank you, I grumbled while slapping my thigh in frustration. At least they could have given me a check. Cursing, I ran into the paper shop. I lit a cigarette with practiced ease, inhaled deeply into my lungs. So satisfying, I rolled my eyes back. Sure enough, a premium smoke doesn't even make you cough. But then I thought again. This cigarette was bought with a bag of spirit money, and my mood soured once more. Indeed, people are only scary when you compare them. I leaned back in my chair and picked up another book. The matter with Shengqing was settled, but my technique was still too clumsy. The talisman was stiff and hard to use. Was it a lack of skill or something else? The more I thought about it, the more uneasy I felt. I couldn't shake the feeling that it was all too smooth. Or maybe, I unconsciously rubbed my brow. I opened the ancient book. Before crossing over, reading made me sleepy. After crossing over, that habit changed. Lately, a female ghost has been startling me every day. I have to work hard, and I must escape poverty. With that thought, I was full of drive. I buried my head in my studies. Little brother, a seductive voice whispered by my ear. I turned my head. My heart skipped a beat, but I quickly composed myself. Deliver the tribute after the rooster crows, I said warily. I continued burying my head in the book. The red-clad female ghost glanced at me. I had forgotten to wear my Taoist robe. A flicker of greed passed through her eyes. She instinctively reached out her hand, but suddenly she sensed something amiss. Though I appeared engrossed in reading, my peripheral vision was taut with alertness. My other hand was hidden beneath my knee, clutching a wad of Taoist robe tightly. Little one, she said with a sweet smile. Even your address has changed. Are you playing tricks on me, trying to test if I'll break our agreement and devour you in one gulp? My heart tightened, but I still pretended not to hear, focusing on the book. This was indeed a crude test of mine. For a female ghost who drains my essence daily, I couldn't be completely at ease. If she was willing to take it slow, I'd treat it like a mortgage. If I could pay it off, there was hope. If not, I'd jump off her building. But if she meant to harm me at any moment, I couldn't guard against her day and night. Kaha, she laughed, seeing me play dumb. She circled around me a few times. Suddenly, she wrapped her arms around me. My hand twitched, but I forced myself to stay still. I chose not to move. She was observing me, and I was observing her. Little brother, I was sleeping peacefully in the Upper Yuen Cemetery. You woke me up. And now you're so guarded against me. Aren't you a bad one? I watched her hand slowly creep toward my neck. I took a deep breath. I apologize for disturbing your grave. I'm willing to give you my essence, as long as we both keep the peace. A smile flickered in her eyes. Her fingers gently brushed my lips. But now you've hurt my feelings. You've broken the sincerity. My breath hitched. I inwardly regretted my rashness. I want double and extra drain each day. I froze, staring at her hungry expression. She was burning with lust. Business is business. Once a day means once a day, right? Her brows arched. My heart raced, but I kept my face steady. I couldn't lose in presence. Then I'll add a condition. She suddenly leaned close to me, her red lips nearly touching my face. In the years I've been asleep, half dreaming, I kept hearing a name. Born a great evil. Dead a dire omen. On the seventh day at dusk, he devoured a few little ghosts trying to steal his coffin. You'd definitely be interested in this person. My ears perked up at that, too. She blinked her beautiful eyes. Suddenly, she burrowed into my arms, tilting her head to meet my gaze. Red lips, relative, and Shengqing. My heart jolted. I pushed her away instinctively. Really? Your little apology act during the day. Your little apology act during the day. You can't even fool people properly. And you want to fool a vicious, evil ghost. Dream on. He shrugged. At those words, I sucked in a cold breath, seeing me lost in thought. A flicker of something passed through his eyes. All settled then. From now on, work it every day. I ignored him, but unease grew in my heart. His words finally unlocked it. Why Eon had hesitated to speak. Normally, a ghost leaves no survivors when it kills. Yet he Shengqing chose to torment his own bloodline. And that I'd burn paper twice and get no response. Only one explanation. He sealed himself off, utterly vicious. It's not out of resentment. It's pure vengeance. And me, the one who burned offerings at the wrong grave. Screwed. I slapped my forehead. The more I thought, the worse it got. Then again, maybe the female ghost set me up on purpose. Enough, I'll take it one step at a time. Worst case, she comes for me. I stood up. Standing in this paper offering shop, I felt a surge of boldness. Damn it, if she's got the guts, let her storm my Jeyuan tower. I turned, grabbed a wooden board, and scrawled a line of crooked characters with a brush. I hung it at the door. Looking up, I saw a dense crowd of dark shadows gathered outside. I stepped out the door. Both sides startled. Stealing my nerve, I hung the sign and turned back inside, but glanced instinctively into the alley's depths. Faintly visible, a hazy mist, night wandering god. My heart tightened as I shut the door. Outside, the ghostly crowd closed in again. That kid's eyes just now pretty fierce. Did you notice? A bunch of vicious ghosts right here, and he looked at us without a shred of fear. That's hardcore. Let's see what he wrote first. Maybe it's a surrender letter. What's this say? I've forgotten all my characters. Someone who can read, step up. A small ghost clutching a head, pushed through, and the head in his arms, spoke. Old shop open for business. Everything 30% off. The ghosts fell into dead silence. What the hell does that mean? All ghosts looked baffled. The hanged ghost with entrails dangling gnawed on an incense stick, muttering, "Who cares what it means? Let's just loot." At that, all the ghostly shadows stirred into frenzy. Doh! A ghostly figure fixed its gaze on the hanged ghost. The hanged ghost froze. Before he could speak, he noticed the surrounding ghosts had gone quiet. The primal malice began to spread. "Don't, or we'll eat you." The hanged ghost's lips trembled. In a daze, a fragment of his living memory surfaced. "Adulteress stole my woman and killed me." He let out a venomous, inexplicable snarl. The ghost began to go mad. Just then, from inside the shop came a roar. "Mars not doing business tonight. All of you, get the hell out." Instantly, the terrifying atmosphere shattered. All the ghostly shadows started chattering again. "Where were we?" "Taoist, you go. You went last night." A few ghosts shoved the hanged ghost to the door. The hanged ghost looked bewildered. "Did I just remember something?" Reaching the door, he realized something was wrong. Turned to curse, but was met with thumbs up. "Stay sharp. Don't lose face. It's your show." Flattered by the praise, the hanged ghost grinned wide, and puffed up with bravado, turned to face the shop. Inside, I was growing impatient from waiting, hearing the chatter outside but no ghost coming in. I'd finally yelled out. Good thing soon I sensed a ghost approaching. I looked up, frowning. "Do again? HMPH, that dead guy," upon hearing this, without a second word, coiled up his intestines and flung them to the ground. Slap, I didn't even kowtow. I slammed the table. The force of my finger pressing down directly crushed him flat. The door slammed shut. "K, you're forcing a sale, right? I remember now, you're forcing a sale. Let me go. I'm going to sue you." I glared at him, annoyed. This guy was pretty fierce. But now, the more I look at him, the less he's worth. "Alright, same rules as always. Enter the shop, you must buy something." I slapped the table a few times in a row, pressing him down until he was flat as a pancake. "What do you want to buy?" I said. "2 candles." He stammered out the words. I bared my teeth but didn't say much. I pulled out 2 white candles and tossed them to him. He hesitated, glancing at his own intestines. Gritting his teeth, he tore off a finger-length piece and threw it to me. Then he grabbed the candles and tried to leave. "Hold on," I called out, dragging over a sack of gold ingots. "This sack is a gift for you. Consider it compensation for being my first regular customer. Yesterday's and today's deals, I'll give you a 30% discount." The violent dead ghost was baffled. He looked at me suspiciously. "What compensation?" I didn't feel like explaining much. I just poured out the ingots. "You caused trouble yesterday. I forgive you now. Consider it making a friend. Go on." He tilted his head, grabbed a handful of ingots, then looked at the remaining half and took it all. After all, there was the female ghost's money to spend. Plus, seeing how this guy was sometimes simple, sometimes fierce, clearly not strung in thinking, I didn't want to cement my reputation for forcing sales. "This is the 30% discount." He hugged the ingots, half understanding, and left. Outside the door, a swarm of dark shadows immediately crowded around. "How was it? Your intestines are just a bit shorter. Did you snatch it?" "I told you so. Let's all go snatch together." The violent dead ghost listened to the voices around him, instinctively wanting to agree, but then he fought again and felt something was off. No, this wasn't snatched by me. All the ghosts showed confused expressions. "I bought 2 candles. This is a 30% discount. Buy first, then snatch. So this 30% discount is actually gold ingots. Twice. The shopkeeper already made it clear. Buy something, snatch at 30% off. Buy, then you can snatch." A cacophony of murmurs rose together. Meanwhile, the dead ghost worked off on his own, pausing quietly to bite into a candle, occasionally crushing a gold ingot. In a daze, his face seemed to recall something. But in the end, he slumped to the ground in defeat, as if he had forgotten everything. On the other side, a shadow dripping with water had already rushed into the shop impatiently, chowing excitedly. "Buy something, snatch at 30% off." I looked up. I watched him stagger in, thick black water oozing from his mouth. Disgusting. This guy was a water ghost. Just as I hesitated whether to suppress him first, he scowled at me and roared, "Bring out the 30% discount." I was puzzled. From outside the door came a string of curses. "You have to buy something first to snatch the 30% off. Don't you know how it works? If you can't do it, let me handle it." The water ghost was taunted until he trembled all over, black water pouring from him like it was free, splattering the ground. He stammered, "You," then he stiffened his face again. "Give me 2 sticks of ebony incense, the kind boiled with lotus leaves." I pulled 2 long black incense sticks from the cabinet and handed them to him. He took them, turned, and suddenly spat out a mouthful of thick liquid. Damn, I cursed under my breath. This was even more disgusting than intestines. But that liquid was also ghostly energy, so I collected it. Then I saw the water ghost, holding the incense, hadn't left. Instead, he stared straight at the gold ingots by my feet. "The ingot box. You want this?" I picked up a gold ingot. His eyes suddenly lit up. He lunged and grabbed it. "Give it here." Then he bolted for the door, chowing at the top of his lungs. I snatched the 30% off. That little brat, foolishly raising his hand, shouted, "Give it to me." The corner of my mouth twitched. Just as I was about to speak, another ghost rushed in impatiently. A smile immediately spread across my face. Things seemed to be heading in the right direction. "What do you want?" I asked cheerfully. This time, it was a fire-scorched ghost. Only half of its upper body remained, and the missing parts flickered with eerie green light. It hesitated. "B-bus." I want it. Sharp, trembling voice made me shiver. The movement made it immediately cover its mouth, like a timid bride who had done something wrong. "Forget it, sub, I'm leaving." It turned to go. I quickly forced a smile. My fault for neglecting a guest. "Just say whatever you need." It hesitated, turned back, and saw my sincere face. It let out a sob, shyly covering its face. It said, "Boss, you're so kind." I shuddered with disgust. I pulled out a pile of paper offerings. It stared for a long time. Finally, it coyly extended 2 fingers like it was bargaining. "Some money flowers, please. I just love these flashy things, but promise, you won't laugh at me." I gritted my molars hard. No wonder they say old hags are unbearable. This pathetic act was truly insufferable. I handed over a bag of money flowers. It fidgeted awkwardly, then tore off a clump of its eerie blue flame and dropped it on the ground. "Boss," it called again. I managed a strained smile. I turned away, took a deep breath, and looked back. It hadn't left, still covering its face in a coy pose. "Boss, you're a good person, but I still have to snatch the threefold." I quickly grabbed a handful of gold ingots. I squinted and thrust them forward. As a wave of cold swept over my arm, I opened my eyes and saw that ghost clutching the ingots, running off while shouting, "Sisters, I got them. This boss is kind. Everyone, come grab some." Behind me, I could only shiver. Beside me, the red-dressed female ghost let out a delicate laugh. Say what you will, but compared to that, her laugh is actually pleasant. Soon half the night had passed. The smile never left my face. I ran back and forth in my Taoist robe several times. There were still dozens of ghosts in line. "Don't rush, one at a time," I called out while serving them. When I noticed some commotion in the back, I raised a gold ingot. "The threefold is for snatching." "Threefold? Isn't that a gold ingot?" "PFFT, what you buy is called a gold ingot. What you snatch is the threefold." "We're here to snatch." The restless ghost shadows, upon seeing the gold ingot, immediately quieted down. I was mentally relieved. If I'd known these ghosts were easy to deal with, I wouldn't have been so scared the past few days, holding back my piss multiple times. Jokes aside, I gradually figured out these ghosts, dazed and dull, mostly childlike in nature, but precisely because of that, I dared not slack off. Once that innocent nature fades, what remains is bound to be overwhelming ferocity. So I insisted on honest trade, cheating neither young nor old. Deal after deal was done, and I collected quite a bit of ghost currency. I kept busy until the rooster crowed, but I still pretended not to hear. Dawn was near, but the line of ghosts was still dense. Just as I feared trouble, day broke, and the queuing ghosts all shuddered. The excitement on their faces vanished instantly, turning into a hint of confusion. Then, in unison, they turned around and left without a word. I was stunned. Then I collapsed into the chair with relief, tired but richly rewarded. Just then, the red-dressed female ghost appeared silently. In high spirits, I reached out and pulled her close by the neck, lowered my head, and pressed down for a kiss. My vision went dark, but then he remembered something. He grabbed 2 bags and ran to the door. The sky was still dark. Only a faint pale light appeared in the distance. I worked to the left side of the alley, opened a bag full of gold and silver ingots, then placed another on the right side. By the time I returned to the shop, a mist quietly spread on both sides of the alley. When it cleared, the ingots were gone. This kid has some filial piety, more sensible than his grandfather. But what's so good about sucking up? Cripple, since when do you accept such petty favors? This is filial piety. I like this filial piety. If you don't like it, why are you still here? Cripple, you want another fight, don't you? The two mists suddenly collided. An eerie wind blew, sweeping through the old alley. At dawn, I turned over on my rocking chair. The jade pendant on my chest was radiating a full, warm sensation. Last night, I traded with 24 little ghosts. The ghost energy was fully absorbed by the jade pendant. It was full. I had a fort. The jade pendant instantly glowed with a green light. A continuous stream of heat surged into my body. I quickly recited the Zai Wu Ju and Yang chapter. As the technique circulated, the heat inside me kept expanding, covering my entire body. A layer of golden light, like veins, surrounded me. Just as I was puzzled, the jade pendant suddenly floated before me. A golden light directly rushed into my brow. I don't know how long passed. I opened my eyes again. My whole body was filled with an unprecedented burning sensation, almost tangible. The second chapter of Zai Wu Ju and Yang, Ju Rai Ju. I pondered it for a moment. A smile couldn't help but bloom on my lips. Red sun flows through meridians, shattering binds, deepening the cycle. 365 major acupoints, each one. When one is opened, the red sun power multiplies exponentially. Though the process is slow, with the Tan Yuan treasure's aid, my cultivation speed is greatly enhanced. More importantly, now the red sun power in my body circulates automatically. No need to push it to ward off evil. Truly a treasure left by Grandpa. I couldn't help but kiss the jade pendant. Now I finally have real skill to deal with ghosts. Cultivation is good. Must cultivate, must cultivate. Just then, my phone rang. I picked it up and looked. It was Hyeon, and several missed calls. Just as I answered, Mr. Lin, you finally picked up. Her voice carried a hint of resentment, but she quickly adjusted. Do you have time now? Can you come to the door? Puzzled, I worked to the door. I poked my head out, and saw 4 or 5 big men in black standing outside, like ghosts blocking the door. Anger flared up inside me. Brothers, what's this about? I raised an eyebrow and called out. The leader, Uncle Zhang, wore sunglasses. His voice was indifferent. We're just here to take you. I didn't want to waste words with them. I directly yelled into the phone. Tion, what exactly do you mean? Before I finished, Uncle Zhang reached a hand right in front of my nose. This rude move made my face darken. I almost cursed, but he flipped his hand. A stack of bills brushed past my nose. The scent of ink made me take a deep, intoxicated breath. I swallowed my curse, and spoke gently into the phone. Missy, you suddenly sending people to my door is a bit abrupt. I wasn't even prepared. Another hard object pressed against my chest. I glanced down. A bright red carton of Huarzi cigarettes. Mr. Lin, Uncle Zhang smiled slightly. His smile carried a faint mockery. But would I care? Missy, just say the word if you need anything. I, Lin Mu, am not one to dawdle. I'll be right there. I grabbed the money in one swift motion. Clutching the Huarzi, I hung up and dashed into the yard. When I came back out, I strode right past Uncle Zhang and the others. I grinned wide. Sorry to keep you all waiting. My bad, let's go. Uncle Zhang watched my sudden shift in attitude. He let out a quiet scuff. The bodyguards beside him also looked disdainful. To these hard-nosed, senseless materialists, the torque of ghosts and spirits was hard to swallow. I might have some skill, but that was all. Before long, we arrived at the private hospital again. I sat on a stone bench downstairs. Holding a lunchbox, I wolfed down the food. Tyorn had changed into an elegant lawn dress. A camphor tree cast shade over her. Behind her stood over a dozen bodyguards. They just watched me eat. After I finished the boxed meal and pulled out a cigarette, the bodyguard immediately handed me a lighter. Asterisk whoosh dot asterisk. I clamped the Huarzi between my lips and took a deep drag. Leisurely, I rolled my eyes. Yellen looked at my antics, half amused, half pitying, but mostly anxious. Your dad still hasn't woken up. I smoked half the cigarette. Then I asked. He immediately sat down beside me. After you left yesterday, my mom got better quickly, but my dad's tests all show stable vitals. He just won't wake up. Do you think it could be him? A flicker of fear crossed his face. I didn't answer. Last night, the female ghost's words had already prepared me. Let's go take a look. I tossed the cigarette butt and headed straight up to the second floor. In the room were only the old director and 2 nurses. I walked to the bedside, reached out and pressed my hand on the middle-aged man. Instantly, a terrifying surge of yin energy rose. My heart jolted. Yesterday, I thought I had dispelled all the yin energy, but driven by the power of the red sheep, I realized I was wrong. This man was completely wrapped in yin energy, like he was drenched through and through. Tisk. I clicked my tongue. Something felt off. My perception yesterday was definitely correct. Beside me, Tyorn, too, could now get out of bed. His mother was just you. Unless I whipped my head around, a bad guess surfaced in my mind. Lin Mu. Tyorn called out wordly. Come with me. I withdrew my hand and hurried toward the door. Tyorn's pretty face paled in fright. She quickly followed me outside. I pointed at him and pulled out a Huarzi. Did anything go wrong with the paper burning yesterday? He shook his head instinctively. I sent you back and came straight to the hospital. My mom's condition keeps improving. Only my dad won't wake up. Just then, Uncle Zhang chimed in. There was a call from the villa yesterday. I shot him a questioning look. Uncle Zhang, what call? How come I don't know about it? Ki-yorn also turned to him. Around 7 last night, they said at the spot where we burned the paper in the villa, a sudden gust of wind blew through. I cut him off before he could finish. Just get to the point, what did the paper and incense look like? Uncle Zhang frowned. Just scattered everywhere. Maybe the night wind was strong. I didn't wait for the rest, I turned and ran. I shouted back, what are you standing there for? Follow me. Now. Ki-yorn's face flushed red and white with anger. Uncle Zhang wanted to persuade her, but Ki-yorn took a deep breath and cut him off. Enough. Uncle Zhang, go with him now. In the car, I pressed my thigh, my mind heavy. Where are we going now? Ki-yorn sat beside me and asked softly. Changyuan Public Cemetery. I closed my eyes. A storm was raging in my mind. He Shengshen came back last night. My apology and offering were utterly useless. He never accepted it. If a ghost wants to kill, one night is enough. But He-yuan's family of 3 has been fined for 2 meals. Only her father remains. What is his real goal? Ki-yorn saw I wasn't speaking, and her face went pale with fear. Soon, we returned to Changyuan Cemetery. It was already afternoon. Another unlucky hour. I took the lead, striding up the hill. Entering the gate, I paused mid-step, my gaze falling on a row of small buildings nearby. 2 pale-faced men sat at the entrance, shivering with cigarettes dangling from their lips. What's wrong? Ki-yorn whispered. Nothing, I said, looking away. Only after walking far did I glance back at them. They seemed to carry a strange aura. Those 2 were also staring at my back. Damn, what the hell? How did this kid change so much? That aura is like a blazing sun. Could he have entered the Tao overnight? Forget that. Last night, the paranormal stirred. It nearly killed several of our men. They're still unconscious. How did that thing grow so strong? Dead over a decade, yet so fierce. What was its name again? Don't mention it. It creeps me out. We barely suppressed it. Just hope it doesn't wake tonight. Back at grave 1107 on the rear hill. What exactly are we doing now? Ki-yorn couldn't help asking. I stared at the tombstone, took a deep breath, looking for a ghost. At those words, Ki-yorn's eyes trembled in fear. Uncle Zhang and the others also jumped. Before they could react, I suddenly bent down and pressed the tombstone, locking my gaze on the photo. Ti Shengshen. I shouted coldly. Solar yang energy covered my palm. The old man said people fear ghosts 3 parts, but ghosts fear people 9 parts. Before, without cultivation, no matter how bold I was, it was useless. But now, I've at least seen the world. Ti Shengshen. I roared again, slamming both hands onto the tombstone. Boom! A gust of yin wind rose from nowhere, enveloping everyone. Uncle Zhang and his men, all top-notch fighters, now had goosebumps. Stranger still, the photo on the tombstone seemed to come alive. Its hollow eyes stared straight at them. K. I shouted, snapping everyone back to their senses. Uncle Zhang and the others woke up, instinctively reaching for their waists. Lin Mo and Yalan were pale. I panted and shook my head at him. It's certain your grandfather is fierce. Even this tombstone holds terrifying yin energy. But his soul isn't here. With that, I strode down the hill. Tonight, go back. Everyone, grab a bundle of willow branches. Strike each other with them when idle. Get through this night first, I whispered. I'll search the records when I return. I'll definitely resolve it. Ki-yorn nodded. Don't see me off. You all hurry back. You know my address, right? Pick me up at dawn tomorrow. I know. I called this morning, no answer. So I checked your detailed address. I nodded. As I turned to leave, I glanced at her from the corner of my eye. Address. Soon, night fell. At the familiar bus stop, the young man's soft voice startled me. I turned my head. The red-dressed female ghost stood right beside me, close enough to kiss if I turned. I stepped back and checked my phone. Only a little past 7 p.m. As expected of a major ghost. Out this early. I sighed inwardly. Brother, are you afraid of He Shengshen? He gave a charming smile, then directly wrapped his arm around my neck. He didn't answer, but my heart felt heavy. What exactly He Shengshen was planning to do? I already had the answer. It was me. Ki-yorn said he forgot what happened that ghost festival night. The only explanation was the ghost battle soul. It had ransacked his memories, trying to find me, the one who cut off its incense. Back then, it didn't know my address, so it hadn't come for revenge. But I've shown my face these past 2 days, especially today. Ki-yorn directly had people block my shop entrance. That bastard probably knows my location now. I was all torqued before, telling him to come at me. Now that I realize it might actually happen, I get it. The red-clad female ghost's voice drifted over faintly. I snapped alert with a triple soul shake. Nonsense, impossible. I didn't. He looked at me with a teasing smile, reached out and tapped my chin. Ti Shengshen didn't know where you were before, so he never made a move. Now, without a hitch, he should be coming for you. He leaned in, the tip of his nose brushing my lips. Little brother, it's not shameful to be scared. I didn't argue. Instead, all my focus was on his icy cold nose. I even felt a sudden urge to stick out my tongue in response. Big brother, he seemed to sense my thoughts. His seductive eyes locked straight onto mine. Suddenly, he slowly lifted his head. His red lips inched toward my mouth. Want me to help you get rid of him? 10 times. I'll eat him for you. I snapped awake instantly. Took a step back. Damn, this thing is really addictive. But 10 times, I should be able to handle it now. I wouldn't die, but looking at his ravenous gaze, I couldn't set that precedent. If I really had to beg him by selling myself, I'd never be free of him for the rest of my life. No way. I shook my head firmly. I haven't even met this He Shengsheng yet. If I rely on you right off the bat, what kind of life am I living? I straightened my back. A smirk curled at the corner of my mouth. Regardless, the red-eyed female ghost looked at me, stunned for a moment. A deep glint flickered in her eyes. But then I changed my tune. Looked at him sheepishly. If I really can't handle it, we can negotiate on those 10 times. Better yet, cut me a deal. How about 5? He burst out laughing. Laughed so hard he doubled over. Little one, and here I thought you were so resolute. Didn't expect you to be a coward too. 10 times means 10 times. Fixed price, no haggling. I pouted inwardly. As for being a coward or not, surviving the danger is what matters most. I sat silently on the bench. He rested his chin on his hand, staring straight at me. I felt uncomfortable under his gaze. Muttered, this is all just speculation for now. Maybe that bastard won't even come for me. He leaned in with a smile. So you're deliberately hiding and not going back, just to see if he, Chengcheng, will find you at Jiyuan building? I didn't answer. Wish was as good as admitting it. For the first time, a hint of approval showed on his face. He muttered to himself, cunning little brat. As I waited quietly, the Shenyuan cemetery was shrouded in deep night. A dark shadow rose like a curtain in an instant, engulfing the entire cemetery. Damn, supernatural resurgence. It's him again. Figures shot out from the mountain below, rushing toward the peak. One roar tore through the night sky. He Shengsheng. Life and death, reincarnation are heaven's decree. Why cling to this world and refuse to disperse? In response, a massive black shadow tilted down. Moments later, the cemetery fell back into dead silence. A hideous black shadow flew out from the mountain peak, morphing into a gaunt old man, drifting off into the distance, and scattered across the cemetery grounds. Bodies lay strewn in all directions. Damn it, call for backup immediately. This supernatural entity has already met the criteria for a fierce ghost. Need to avoid the strong making a move. Tell me, isn't that strange? Every time that kid comes here, He Shengsheng wakes up. Is it a coincidence, or is the kid helping us? He must be helping us. Outside the graveyard, the old man slowly raised his head, revealing a pale, ferocious face. Do you a street? No. 57, Yin Yang Paper Shop. Little beast, am coming for you. The night is deep, and the wind is cold. I shivered as I leaned back on the bench, a cigarette dangling from my mouth. I was gaming. Support, stay close. I'm only 0-9. This isn't my skill level. I can definitely farm up. You mullah. The screen went black, and I got kicked by the system. I angrily put down my phone. The red-dressed female ghost studied me, puzzled. I don't get it. This kid, from a pure yang body, in just 2 nights, has stepped into the realm of a cultivator. His adaptability is beyond normal. Now that he guesses He Shengsheng might be after him, he immediately keeps his distance, not even returning to the shop. Cowardly as it is, he's avoiding danger perfectly by not committing to either side. But he doesn't seem like someone who'd just bolt. Little bro, are you planning to stay out all night and not go back? I paused for a moment, then shot back. Can I ask you something? He Shengsheng can't find me directly, right? No. His quick answer made me feel like I was dragging it out. Sorry to ask again, are you sure you're not lying to me? Of course I'm not lying. He smiled seductively, lifting my chin. My face flushed slightly. We're friends now, right? We are. His eyes curved into crescent moons as he smiled. Since we're friends, can you not lick me? His slender fingers pressed against my lips. Silly boy, that fort isn't very mature. He winked, his tongue curling lightly, full of tease. He had me figured out. My face darkened. I slid back to put distance between us. This woman doesn't seem like good news. Soon midnight passed. I kept an eye on my phone. Yorn hadn't called, meaning He Shengsheng wasn't around, so I couldn't go back to the paper shop. The red-dressed female ghost just quietly stayed with me, her gaze like she was watching a pet. It made me very uncomfortable, but as long as she didn't act out, even if she saw me as a fool, I wouldn't bother arguing. I waited until 2 a.m., then suddenly got up and slipped into an internet cafe. This kid really isn't in a hurry, the female ghost muttered as she followed. Just let me drain you 10 times, and I'll eat him in one go. Wouldn't that be better? I ignored her, leaned back on the sofa, and fell asleep, until the alarm went off at 4 a.m. I rubbed my eyes and rushed out of the cafe. The female ghost watched my hurried look, as if she understood my plan. He was planning to go back to the meeting just before dawn. If he Shengxing showed up and things went wrong, he could just stall until the rooster crowed and be safe. Bold kid, not afraid of dying like this. The interest in her eyes grew stronger. She immediately followed. I hailed a taxi straight to the old district. The old alley was dead quiet. The dense ghostly shadows from before were all gone. In the night wind, there was a yin energy I paid special attention to, the same as he Yorn's. Sure enough, the old bastard had been here. My heart felt heavy, but luckily he was gone. When I worked back to the paper shop, I finally breathed a real sigh of relief. Standing outside the door, I carefully observed my surroundings. There were traces of yin energy left on the threshold, but the inside was exactly as I'd left it. He must have noticed I wasn't here and left. I frowned deeply, but quickly dismissed that thought. A man who was evil in life and ominous in death, how could he just leave so easily? Unless he's not that fierce, I muttered to myself, still unable to figure it out. I decided to go inside first, but as I stepped through the door, my gaze instinctively swept toward the dark recesses of the alley. Before I worked in, lost in thought, the red-clad female ghost behind me drifted in as well. She too looked toward the depths of the alley, and like my heavy-heartedness, she tilted her head as if in provocation, muttering softly, "Have I slept so long I've fallen behind the times? Or has the world truly changed? Even a night patrol god is guarding the door now." Boom! The night wind surged through the entire alley. In an instant, a fierce gale of yin energy erupted. Amid the swirling mist, a figure emerged and rushed toward the paper funeral shop. The red-clad female ghost at the door smirked wickedly, then entered the house without looking back. No sooner had she stepped inside than outside the paper shop, two gray, hazy waves of energy slammed violently into each other. Dust and smoke billowed. This infuriates me. I'll tear that woman apart. Don't be rash. We fought her before. If we could tear her apart, we'd have done it already. She clings to Zyro Mo and dares to mock us. Are we just letting this slide? Call the cook and Manhua back. Jai Zai, calm down. We're waiting for that one. Until that one arrives, we don't leave her side. Besides, this female ghost hasn't shown malice. No need to start a fight. Consider it the fate of that Lin kid. Working the yin path means bearing such things. After a brief silence, if it's fate, then how do you explain that little ghost who came earlier? You blasted his ghostly body apart. He was lucky to escape belly. That's not fate. But this female ghost, we can't beat her, can we? Darzui, to put it bluntly, you're just scared. Who are you calling scared? I haven't hit you enough. In an instant, the alley was once again choked with dust. As yin energy clashed, vaguely two massive figures could be seen, fighting within. Inside the house, I was completely unaware, desperately flipping through ancient books. Just then, the red-clad female ghost sidled up, her gaze also falling on the book in my hands. I didn't stop searching for information. Suddenly, I flattened a leaf, my focus sharpening instantly. Three calamity malevolent ghosts spawn great evils. After death, karma and misfortune cling to them, turning into baleful power. Such ghosts harbor no resentment in their hearts, only pure yin and evil force. I took a deep breath. The three calamities are greed, gluttony, and hatred. My sixth sense told me that he Shengxing was undoubtedly this type without resentment, born a great evil. I enraged him by visiting the run grave. HMPH, this matter won't end until one of us dies. My eyes fell on a line of small text below. If you incur the enmity of a three calamity malevolent ghost, the only solution is hidden crossing. Hidden crossing. I rubbed my temples, continuing to flip through the pages. Not until the rooster crowed at dawn did I snap back to reality and look at the red-clad female ghost beside me. I licked the corner of my mouth, then pulled her into my arms. She was startled. One taste of ecstasy. I suppressed the drowsiness in my mind, silently reciting the Zai Wu Ju and Yang chapter several times. Finding she hadn't vanished, just once, I said, puzzled. She finally reacted, laughing as she licked her red lips. Little brother, this is the first time you've been so forward. You've got my heart all aflutter. I almost didn't react in time. I completely ignored her coy, shy expression. After all, what expression can't a ghost make? Since you're so eager, I'll tell you something too. I immediately looked at her. This woman had seen much of the world. She could surely offer help. She leaned in close to me. I bent down attentively, cupping my ear. Actually, when I drain your essence, you don't need to stick out your tongue. I jerked my head up. That was a savage thing to say. He covered his mouth and chuckled. His eyes seemed to say, you're getting worked up. But then he raised an eyebrow at me. Still, the technique was good. I liked it. With that, leaving behind a silvery laugh, he vanished. I was utterly embarrassed. I slapped my flushed cheeks hard, then threw myself onto the bed, pulling the covers over my head. You think I wanted to stick out my tongue? I couldn't control it was instinct. So humiliating. Truly shameful, being mocked by a female ghost. I drifted off into a daze. When I opened my eyes again, I was jolted awake by a frantic phone ring. I rubbed my eyes and answered. Lin Mo. Emmy Yon. Her stern tone and slightly trembling voice snapped me wide awake. Did something happen? My parents are fine. I'm okay too, but I just got a message. Not sure if it's related to him. What message? I pulled out a Huarzi cigarette, took a deep drag. Something happened to the workers. Probably around 3 or 4 in the morning. At least 20 people died. My eyes went wide. It came from my lookout outside the cemetery. Shortly after it happened, a few cars arrived at the cemetery. They carried out over 20 bodies. I have photos here. Those people seem formidable too. But they all died. Chengyun Cemetery is now completely sealed off. Even my family's connections can't get in. My phone buzzed repeatedly. He was sending me the photos. I opened them. My pupils contracted sharply. The bodies were shriveled and ghastly, as if their flesh and blood had been drained dry, leaving only a layer of skin wrapped around white bones. My heart jolted. This method of death exactly matches the ancient record of revengeful spirits killing technique. Identical. Devouring the soul alive. Yin energy flooding the body. 10,000 miles of rumors. A terrifying death. A vengeful spirit has countless ways to kill, but soul devouring is the most brutal. It easily attracts the night wanderers. If it's just for devouring souls, it seems hardly worth the cost, unless there's no other choice. I muttered to myself, suddenly realizing something. I shot to my feet. Like a severe injury, it must devour souls to recover. Inside a high-end hotel in the early morning. Mr. Lin. Ki-yon hurried over. I turned my head, my face grim, from the sofa. Uncle Zhang approached first. A case was placed before me. Inside were unopened packs of Huarzi. They're testing me with gifts. Before I could finish, Uncle Zhang opened the Huarzi. Beneath it were stacks of cash, red on red. A gleam of light made me catch my breath. Mr. Lin, about my attitude earlier, I apologize. These worldly goods are a small token of respect. Please accept them. Uncle Zhang gave a slight bow. I glanced at him, a bit surprised. I muttered under my breath. Not so worldly, really. Can't blame me, I'm a worldly man too. As I spoke, my hand seemed to move on its own, pulling the case under my feet. I secretly gauged its depth. Tisk, 400,000. Damn, that's pork chop rice for life, 3 meals a day till I die. And rushed over early this morning. Haven't even eaten yet. Seeing me accept the case, Uncle Zhang breathed a sigh of relief. Last night's incident at Chengyun Cemetery had even this former elite soldier's hair standing on end. Some things he had no choice but to believe. Thank you. He stepped back, standing behind Ki-yon. Lin Mo. Ki-yon, bursting with words, hurriedly sat down beside me. I've taken the money, but my face remains grim. Let's cut to the chase. Tell me about your grandfather. My grandfather, he started, then seemed to hesitate. I lit a cigarette, frowning at him. Why are you so hesitant? Just to ask something. After composing himself, he said, Chen Cheng, he was born evil. I coughed sharply. No wonder he hesitated. Those words were brutally blunt. Go on. My grandfather was born last century. His family was wealthy when he was young, but his nature was abnormal from childhood. You could call it supermale syndrome. Supermale syndrome. Yeah, in his teens, he tortured several maids to death. Anyone who displeased him died horribly. Even a dog would be chopped to bits by him. An image flashed in my mind. No beef. I don't remember much about him. Just visiting as a child, accidentally entering his room, and seeing girls chained to the bedpost by iron shackles, their bodies covered in wounds. They were battered all over. He trembled slightly, as if this scene was his childhood nightmare. I took a deep drag of my cigarette, then tossed it. Supermale genes. Born evil, real life, no beef guy. Perfectly fits the definition of a 3 calamity evil boast. Later, my father couldn't take it anymore. After I was born, he took us and left. He passed away 12 years ago. We went back to handle the funeral and buried him in Chengyun Cemetery. He wiped his tears. I don't actually blame you. I shouldn't have clung to blood ties and burned paper for him. He was a demon. I didn't say anything else. Since things have come to this, saying this is pointless. Come with me. I stood and worked out of the hotel, not forgetting the box. Ki-yon wiped her eyes and hurried after me. Soon, we arrived back at the paper shop. Wait inside for now. With that, I went to the backyard. After a moment, I came out with a bowl of crimson liquid. I waved over the bodyguards. What is this? Uncle Zhang looked at me doubtfully. Red earth, black gores, corner ash, frost on the tiles. I said casually, it's normal. It's a method from an ancient text to ward off ghosts. Drawing talismans. These are all yin gathering items mixed together. Extreme yin begets yang. Even someone without cultivation can use it to keep ghosts at bay. Which parts of you are usually left unwashed? I stirred the liquid with my finger. Mr. Lenny, whatever you need, we'll cooperate fully. Uncle Zhang didn't hesitate. Seeing his eager look, I inexplicably felt a sense of mystery, as if in his eyes, I was already some cinematic master. I didn't know what he was thinking, just smiled and said, then here I go. I closed my eyes, recalling for a moment, then slowly raised my finger coated in red paste. Suddenly, my expression changed and fled. Wait for me a moment. Uncle Zhang and the others were stunned. When I came back out, I was flipping through an ancient book in my hand. Damn it, how was that talisman drawn? Which page was it? Uncle Zhang and the others twitched at the corners of their eyes. Found it. Let me study it a bit more, then I'll draw it for you. I grinned, looking at Kiyorn. Her suppressed eye roll made her face flush. I've been studying this book every spare moment these past 2 days. Really putting in the work. Tirixing Tidu, I murmured, making a gesture. The talisman isn't complicated. Just 4 strokes. Alright, gather around. I tucked the book under my arm and waved at Uncle Zhang. Tum-an, what are you all standing around for? What? This talisman drawing Kiyorn hesitated. Don't doubt my expertise. I'm an old hand at this. I am also a second-generation inheritor. Reading is just a habit. A scholar, you know. I kept a straight face, quietly hiding the ancient book under my arm. Soon, Uncle Zhang and the others lined up before me, channeling the power of the red goat. 2 fingers dipped in floating water. First, I swiped twice across Uncle Zhang's brow. A blood-red mark, shaped like a ladle, was left behind. Uncle Zhang felt a chill on his brow, followed by a wave of warmth. After finishing all the bodyguards, I looked up and scanned them. These burly men, over 6 feet tall, all bore on their brows a faintly glowing talisman. If I hadn't messed up, I couldn't help but amuse myself. After all, it was my first time. The result was satisfactory. Seeing Kiyorn staring at me, I put on a serious face, pretending to be seasoned. Tak hadnak bad. The talisman is well drawn. I've been practicing since childhood. Messing up is impossible. I told Uncle Zhang and the others, this one's called Qiuxing Tidu. It works against ghost fiends. Your blood energy is strong. As long as you're not afraid, with a dozen of you standing together, no ghost can get near. But remember, the talisman must not be damaged. That means no washing your faces. Better yet, don't even sweat. Uncle Zhang nodded immediately. I then looked at Kiyorn. She quickly came before me, lifting her bangs to reveal her forehead. Don't I need one? She froze, blushing awkwardly. After you go back, these men will protect you well enough. If you're really scared, just keep the willow branch with you. I instructed. As for your father, wait for now. Maybe once this is resolved, he'll wake up on his own. Call me if there's trouble. As she left, she turned back and asked, you'll definitely come, right? Her eyes full of helplessness and fear. I didn't want to lie. I nodded lightly. As the luxury car drove away, the bodyguards inside whispered, never thought ghosts were real. Will that Qiuxin Tidu really work? Who knows? Not sure if he's got skill, but he's definitely poor. In his kitchen, just a bag of rice and 3 bowls. Seasonings, only half a pack of salt. Can't even season 3 dishes. That's real poverty. In the yard, I watched them leave. The gravity on my face vanished instantly. But when I bent to pick up that box, my face lit up with a grin. 1 bundle, 2 bundles, 400,000. Damn 400,000. I told you, Key Group, that fat cat never misses. I sat on the ground, hugging the money blissfully. Don't blame me for being pathetic. Poverty has worn me down enough. I pulled out my phone. Get you a street, no. 57, paper shop, 1 bowl of braised pork rice, fatty pork belly, 3 eggs and soup, plus an extra big chicken leg, crispy skin meat chopped, and another box of rice, also braised pork rice, 3 servings. Hanging up, I went to hide the money in the backyard. Soon, a delivery guy arrived at the door. As I smugly carried the braised pork rice inside, the guy turned and pulled out his phone. Just some idiot, ordering braised pork rice, like he's calling for lobster and king crab. Inside, I ate happily and took a nap. Woke up in the afternoon. I sat in the chair, flipping through the ancient book again. Until near nightfall, the red-dressed female ghost arrived as promised, leaned directly on my shoulder. I flinched instinctively. I sidestepped him, got up and hung the closed sign on the door. You still dare to stay open today? He asked, with a pointed tone. I turned to look at him. His expectant eyes clearly wanted me to sell my essence and ask for his help. I didn't respond. I went back behind the counter and waited. That wait stretched into midnight. My expression gradually grew serious. The night was too quiet. Not only did Heshingshin not come, but not even a single wandering ghost showed up. What exactly happened last night when Heshingshin came? I pinched my brow and glanced at the red-clad female ghost. His remark about daring to stay open clearly meant he knew the inside story. Sure enough, he spent the whole night raising an eyebrow at me, his face screaming 2 words, beg me. I sighed in irritation, hesitated for a moment, then got up, grabbed 2 bags of yin-yang spirit money, and headed toward the old alley. It was time to pay those few a visit. The night wind drifted gently. I stopped at the mouth of the alley. My cultivation silently circulated within. Under my gaze, Mist shrouded both sides of the alley, as if something was gradually revealing its form. The night wandering gods, according to my grandfather's ancient book, Tilted Fork, Big Mouth, Blind Cane, Lame Man, and Cripple. They were the ones truly capable of sending ghosts into reincarnation. Ferrying souls required their assistance. According to my grandfather's records, he had a good relationship with these four. They even helped him guard Jeyun Tower for a year. I divided the spirit money into 4 portions, placing them on both sides of the alley. As I neared the mist, I vaguely saw a pair of enormous eyes. Thankfully, neither patch of mist changed. They merely scrutinized me. I held my breath, set down the spirit money, and retreated to the middle of the alley. No malice detected. I didn't dare shamelessly ingratiate myself, fearing one misstep would ruin the relationship. I then took out 12 incense sticks and 4 incense burners, placing 2 on each side. This was the method for invoking the gods. Plainly put, it was paying respects at their doorstep to gain their approval. I wasn't in a hurry before, but now trouble with Hashingshing had arrived. Relying solely on Jeyun Tower's pressure, I wasn't sure I could handle it. Invoking the gods was urgent. I closed my eyes and held the incense. I channeled my pure yang energy, and the 12 incense sticks burst into flame. Wispy smoke rose into the air. The red-clad female ghost had somehow brought a chair, lounging lazily, paying respects to the 4 directions gods. The medium learns the motions well enough, but the form is far too crude. He watched me flinch at the sudden flare, then quickly stiffened his face, unable to stifle a silvery laugh. Shut up. I shot him a glare. I turned and began chanting in a clumsy, mournful tone, the song of invocation to the gods. Little medium, that's not how you sing the tune. Want me to help? He leaned forward and called out, damn it. My chant was interrupted, and I raised my fist in anger. He just shook his head, then crooked his finger at me. I'll give you one more chance today, okay? Don't mess around. I sighed helplessly. Hearing this, he immediately pulled back and fell silent, only licking his red lips. Fine, can you still bloom twice? In the alley, I finished the chant, opened my eyes, and divided the incense into 4 groups, bowing to the 4 directions. At the end, I bear the decree of the Netherworld's lower officials, to receive and send off wandering souls, to welcome blood and ward off evil, to ferry them onward. From this day, I take charge of Jeyun Tower by divine appointment. I spoke each word deliberately, my eyes fixed on the incense in my hand and the burners in the ground. Gods of the 4 directions. I shouted this salutation so hard my face turned red, nearly cracking my voice. The red-clad female ghost laughed again. I shot him a vicious glare, then inserted the incense into the 4 burners. The burners didn't tip over, and the incense didn't break. Old man, it's time to test your connections. Muttering to myself, normal, when the incense in the burner flares into shape, it means the wandering spirit has returned to its post. The worst outcome is the burner and sail breaking apart. Clearly, they look down on you. Then all the minor ghosts will come knocking at once. As I waited quietly, suddenly, I jerked my head up. I felt 2 streams of yin energy surging like a mountain flood. The incense burner on the altar tilted slightly, as if lifted by an invisible hand. Then the thin smoke swerved and vanished abruptly. The entire incense stick visibly burned down in an instant. I was tense and on edge, until I saw the incense burn out. The wandering spirits had returned to their posts. A relieved smile crept across my lips. I could physically sense it. 2 shadows stood on either side of me. The terrifying yin energy was thick as a tide. Suddenly, I felt a tap on my shoulder. A faint voice whispered in my ear. One sharp, one low. Work hard, kid. I'll have your back from now on. I barely contained my excitement. Now I could clearly perceive those 2 wisps of mist. This was the wandering spirits returning to their posts. It meant the paunch had gained recognition. Someone was finally helping out. How should I address you 2 spirit officers? I asked respectfully. Only 2 spirits had returned to their posts, but that was enough. Neither wisp of mist answered. Spirit officers? I called again. Still no response. They even turned and drifted away. I was stunned had they looked down on me. 2 spirit officers. May I ask if a fierce ghost came last night? Was it you 2 who helped? I changed the subject. This time, I get a response. The left wisp of mist shifted, forming 2 lines of text. Its ghostly body was destroyed. Nothing to worry about. I breathed a quiet sigh of relief. My guess was right. Qi Shengqing had suffered a major loss at the hands of the Night Wanderers. I wanted to ask more, but the 2 wisps of mist had already hidden in the shadows, deliberately radiating indifference. I pursed my lips. I didn't get it, and I didn't dare to force myself on them. I packed up the incense burner. After a while, I returned to the courtyard nervously. Big Mouth, is it bad that we're ignoring him? Look how run the kid feels. You have the nerve to talk to him? If you've got the face, go deal with that female ghost first. We'll lie low for now. That female ghost is absurdly strong. She has a strange aura about her. I'll find time to go to the cycle and check her out. You suspect she shut up. Big Mouth, I'm not arguing with you. Wait until Blind Cane and the cook get back. I don't believe the four of us can't take down one woman. Then we'll properly meet Zyro Mu. After all, we're his elders. Stop thinking about useless things. He doesn't have much time before he arrives. Just do your own job. Inside Jayuan Tower, I really did feel a bit wronged. That cold, dismissive attitude stung. Old man, your connections aren't that solid either, I muttered. When I came in, I saw the female ghost fiddling with the items on the table. She was even engrossed in one of the ancient books. Tay. I snatched it back quickly. Her face darkened. Zyro Kai, these are just worthless trinkets, and you treasure them like gems. Call me auntie, and I'll teach you some real skills. I tossed the ancient book into the chest, turned to look at her. She wore a red high-slit robe, curves in all the right places, a willow thin waist, a face and figure of stunning beauty. I quickly looked away one glance and I'd be tempted to stray. She caught my change in expression, paused for a moment, then a charming smile spread across her face. Little brother, you're so naughty. Are you thinking about me in your heart? She leaned in close. Her hand instinctively reached up to stroke my cheek. How about we discuss it again? I've taken care of that Ishengshen for you. I immediately grew wary of those two night wanderers outside the door. Don't think they're anything special. To put it bluntly, they're just a bunch of old ghosts, and the most beautiful kind at that. His fingertip traced across my chest. He said leisurely, if you don't believe me, call them in to try me. I guarantee they wouldn't dare let out a single fart. As for me, he flicked a strand of hair from his ear, smiling seductively. I can help you with anything. A mere Hishengshen. I can drag him before you right now. It's just a word from you. The wariness on my face grew thicker. I got up and moved far away. Seduction, blatant seduction. Though his tone was arrogant, I truly didn't dare doubt him. But asking him to act, that would cost me all the vital energy I'd painstakingly saved. Young and ignorant of vital energy's worth. Old and watching empty tears fall. Soon dawn arrived. I took a deep gulp of soul energy. This time, I even deliberately left a bit of tongue out. The crimson sun energy instantly diminished by a notch. Har, I breezed out, tilting my head back. Just as I was about to speak, one more time, remember. You promised. Then, before I could react, he leaned right in. My Adam's apple bubbed. My pupils even shuddered. A female ghost with no martial honor. Ridiculous. I stuck out my tongue, but he didn't drink. Another notch of crimson sun energy was drained dry. Darkness swam before my eyes. So satisfying. Come again tomorrow. He let out a delicate laugh, his tone both pleased and languid. I silently recited the Midnight Noon Severing Yang chapter over and over, striving to recover. Once I steadied myself, I sensed the crimson sun energy within me. The yang energy was recovering slowly. Thankfully, it wasn't a serious injury. All thanks to the heavenly origin jade. Otherwise, I'd surely be running a deficit. I couldn't even last 100 days. Time to focus on business. The more ghost energy I absorb, the better. My gaze was resolute, feeling the crimson sun energy inside me. A restless urge stirred within. The Midnight Noon Severing Yang chapter. At noon, use yang energy to strike all acupoints, condensing the essence of crimson sun. Theoretically, I could try opening some acupoints first. After a moment's hesitation, I gritted my teeth and slapped my thigh. Forget it. I closed the door and returned to being an old man. Closing my eyes, I began cultivating the yesterday curse. Instantly, the crimson sun energy within me boiled, turning into a surging torrent. A burst of golden light erupted from my body, outlining a map of human acupoints. At each acupoint, a speck of light lingered. The Kai-Si, root of all acupoints, I felt a resonance. Controlling the crimson sun energy, I directed it toward the acupoint at my navel. This shouldn't be reckless, right? I gasped for breath. After a moment, the Kai-Si acupoint in my perception felt like a sealed sanctuary, being pried open and refilled. Even if it wasn't reckless, forcing it in like this might hurt a bit. I bared my teeth. Gritting my teeth, I ignored everything and drove the crimson sun energy straight in with force. In an instant, I let out a howl. Darkness clouded my vision. As I passed out, I cursed, first time, damn that hurts. I don't know how long passed. My phone suddenly vibrated, and my consciousness slowly returned. I glanced at the phone beside me. It was Hyeon again. This woman again. I sensed trouble was coming. Forcing myself up, I was about to grab the phone, when I suddenly jumped to my feet. My clothes were soaked and clinging to my skin. A layer of dead skin covered my exposed flesh, mixed with impurities as black as mud. Damn, I cursed, closing my eyes for a moment before remembering. At that moment, a earth-shattering change had occurred within me. All the crimson yang energy converged into my danshin. Like a swirling vortex of Kai, I sensed it again. Found the crimson yang energy inside me had nearly doubled. Its length had also grown noticeably. My whole body felt slightly transformed. Cultivation is good. Must cultivate, must learn. The more I thought, the happier I grew. Until my phone rang again after it had stopped. I answered the call. The anxious voices of Suzuki and Dorn came through. They only relaxed after hearing me reply. You scared me to death. Not answering your phone. I thought I was fine. How's your situation over there? I'm fine too. Uncle Zhang and the others are guarding me around the clock. The willow branch you mentioned. I've been holding it too. I instinctively pictured He Qianjin in my mind, surrounded by a group of bodyguards, clutching a willow branch tightly even in deep sleep. Lin Mu, I'm here, I'm here. I snapped back to reality. Zyro Dao and He Yuan's breathing was heavy. After a pause, he asked, did he come find you? I caught the unease in his voice. Frowning, I said, no. Did something else happen? Yeah, probably still Shangyuan Cemetery. He lowered his voice. Not sure of the details. The news is completely sealed off. Like a giant hand pressing down. His tone carried frustration and resentment. After all, in Yanbei, the He group, this was the first time they'd felt such a powerless sense of being kept in the dark. But he quickly regained his confidence. Though that hand is mysterious enough. This is Yanbei. As long as it's human, it leaves traces. My He family's informants cover every hotel and hospital. I cut him off. Just tell me what happened. Sounds like more people died. Probably over a dozen. Last night, the Eastern crematorium was requisitioned. Seems like they cremated the dead overnight. He paused, then asked tentatively, Lin Mu, do you know who those people are? I caught his implication. I don't know either, but Shangyuan Cemetery is a cursed place. You don't need to get involved. The priority now is He Shengshen. I reminded him. After asking about his father's condition, I hung up. 2 groups had died at Shangyuan Cemetery in a row. That meant those people hadn't retreated yet. Were they defying fate, or was their target Shangyuan Cemetery itself? Were He Shengshen? The more I thought, the more confused I grew. After eating, I took out the ancient tree and continued reading. Soon, night fell. I hung the threefold sign on the door, and bowed slightly to the left and right. After washing away impurities, my perception grew sharper. I could clearly sense the presence of the 2 wandering spirits. Back inside the room, the young lady in red arrived as promised. She appeared beside me with a shy smile, then boldly leaned right into my neck. So impressive. Your yang energy was already strong after entering the Tao. Now that you've broken through your Kai Si and become a young Taoist, you're even more delicious. Hearing the first part, I couldn't help but smirk, but the second half made my face darken. Delicious? That's a word for handsome men. She sniffed me freely for a while. Seeing my expression smoother than yesterday, her eyes twinkled. She wrapped her arms around my neck and cooed. Your cultivation has skyrocketed, young master. You seem in a good mood. Want to bet I can ruin it in 2 sentences? I shot her a glare. Enough. She came in, cuddled my neck, sniffed, and touched. What do you want to say? I said dismissively. She smiled slyly, leaned close to my ear. Those little brats at Shangyuan Cemetery. They no match for He Shengshen. They keep going to him to die. I narrowed my eyes. Those people are indeed of the same ilk. First line done. What about the second? They thought He Shengshen was at the end of his strength. At the end of his rope. Little did they know that was him deliberately feigning weakness. Just waiting for them to come. After tonight, He Shengshen won't just recover his ghostly power. He might even surge in strength. My eyelid twitched. After all, that was nearly 50 living souls. All with cultivation. A great tonic. He pressed down on me hard, and said meaningfully, nearly 50 living souls. I sucked in a cold breath. Cold sweat ran down my back. 2 were those people from Shangyuan Cemetery. I suppressed my thoughts and asked. He gave me a bargaining look. Clearly meaning that asking first would cost me. I pulled free from his grip, got up, and went to the door. A single vicious 3 calamity ghost had caused such a disaster. After all, it was 50 lives. I sighed, and sat back down, heavy-hearted. He Shengshen's target was me. My situation was also very bad. The female ghost beside me curled her lip. She hadn't expected me to actually suppress my curiosity. She thought she could trade for another dose of yang energy. She stared at me resentfully, licking her red lips from time to time. Soon, a heavy footstep sounded. I looked up, a practiced smile on my face. The visitor was a water ghost, soaking wet. He sneaked in, looking around furtively. What can I get you, guest? I said with a smile. He slithered up to me in a flash, raised a hand, and tore off an arm. 5 soul-summoning incense sticks. Fast. Seeing his anxious face, I just took out the box, and he snatched it, sniffed it, a hint of satisfaction on his face. Then he hunched over and bolted away. What was that about? I scratched my head in confusion, just in time to see the female ghost deliberately cough, a look of eagerness on her face. TCH. I looked away, pretending not to see. Her face immediately fell, a flicker of anger in her eyes. This little one was getting more and more out of line. Soon 2 ghosts came together. Bus, 500 taels of gold ingots. Quick, I want a woman. The one with the long legs. The one who wanted a woman seemed to be a lecherous ghost. Blood still dripping from his lovesick eyes. But wanting a woman meant a big customer. My eyes lit up. I turned and went to the back courtyard. When I came back, I was carrying a bag of gold ingots and a paper doll. The lecherous ghost saw the paper doll and blood spurted from his eyes. His mouth hung open, drooling nonstop. Tud, good. This woman has a pretty face. Saying this, he grabbed his own stomach, and with a sudden yank, his entire ghostly form shrank by a large circle. Standing on tiptoe, he was just barely taller than the counter. Cat woman. He grabbed the paper doll and pulled. A beautiful, alluring young woman stood vividly on the ground. I'm off, bus. He called out, then hopped onto her back, tiptoeing, and left. Cold Dan. I put away the pile of entrails on the floor, just about to ask something, but the paper doll had already mechanically carried him away. Why were all the little ghosts tonight in such a hurry? I rubbed my chin, feeling something was off. I looked at the rotting corpse ghost beside me, too was hesitating. His decayed face was unreadable, but his movements were clearly uneasy. Don't be uneasy, I replied. He grabbed the gold ingot, weighed it full weight. I instinctively smiled. Made by Grandpa himself. The weight is definitely enough. The rotting corpse ghost also smiled, but as he smiled, he suddenly turned and ran. Kate, damn it. I was stunned. I slammed my hand on the counter. Damn it. Coming to my shop to freeload, an invisible wave of force swept through the entire pawn. After breaking through the acupoint, my pure yang energy surged, seeming to also activate the pawn's stronger power. A vast pressure rolled down, directly crushing the rotting corpse ghost's body into pieces. Mercy, boss, please spare me, he's still alive. I shouldn't have taken advantage of the ghost rampage to cross into the west side of town. Spare my life. I won't dare again. I frowned, withdrew my power. What ghost rampage? The case world ghost, struggling to recover its body, lay on the ground, staring at me in terror. I don't know. 2 nights ago, a big ghost came to the west side of town, leading over 1,000 ghosts. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to cross the street. I was wrong. Seeing me lost in fort, he suddenly turned and bolted. I ignored him. Finally, I understood why there'd been no business these past 2 days. It's He Shengshen again. I clenched my fist. If these wandering souls and wild ghosts run into someone with weak yang energy, it could easily turn into a full-scale ghost riot. Damn it. I slammed my fist on the counter, a flicker of ruthlessness in my eyes. Soon, dawn approached. A little ghost sneaked away with a gold ingot, acting like a thief. I got up to take down the sign. Suddenly screech. The sound of wheels scraping echoed in the distance. Then a car stopped at the mouth of the alley. 2 pale-faced men stepped out of the car. Their eyes lit up when they saw me. From the back seat stepped a middle-aged man, in a white suit. The 3 came straight up to me. Yulin Mo. The middle-aged man looked at me, his tone stiff and harsh, laced with arrogance. Instinctively, I furrowed my brow, and ignored him, turning instead to look at the 2 men. I felt a strange familiarity with them. Changyuan Public Cemetery. I pointed at them uncertainly. The 2 nodded frantically. Little brother, you went up the mountain before to burn paper for He Shengshen, right? Little brother, tell us the truth. What exactly is He Shengshen's background? We've already lost dozens of men to him. Thought the man's chest heaved as he spoke, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood. The moment I heard He Shengshen, my face darkened. That name alone made me gnash my teeth. Don't move. I grabbed him, and lifted his clothes. On his chest was a patch of dark blue, radiating a bone-chilling cold. Yin energy. Can you hold on? I gave him a look. He nodded weakly. I pressed my hand directly onto his chest. Scorching yang energy surged in. Ouch it. He shuddered in pain. But as the yin energy melted away, he coughed up a few blood clots, and his breathing instantly eased. Damn brother, your yang energy, no wonder they call you little son. Impressive. With a trick like that, you're as good as a C-rank exorcist. I didn't understand what an exorcist was. I turned to look at the other man. He waved his hand and hurriedly said, Little brother, I can still hold on. I'm used to it by now. The reason we came to find you. Before he could finish, a dark-faced man cut him off. It was a middle-aged man. He stepped forward with a scowl. Having a nice chat, are we? The 2 men frowned slightly, but seemed to hold back, taking a step back and giving me a wink. You looking for me? I turned to him. He looked arrogant, with a hint of sinister gloom between his brows. Are you Lin Mo? I paused for a moment. This guy comes out of nowhere, acting all high and mighty for no reason. I smiled. I pulled out a pack of Huarzi and tossed one to each of the 2 men. The middle-aged man's brow twitched slightly. My move was clearly a provocation. He was about to blow up. Damn, Huarzi really hits different. Smoke this, and I don't even cough anymore. The middle-aged man whipped his head around, glaring viciously at the one who spoke. That man shrank his neck and crouched down, pretending not to see. So, what do you want with me? I said, cigarette dangling from my lips. Hatred flickered in his eyes. He gave me a hard look. Was it you who caused the trouble at Changyuan Public Cemetery in Shengshen? A thought struck me. It seemed the reason was that I'd burned the run paper. Before I could even answer, he pointed at me, his tone growing heavier. Awakening a C-grade spirit caused dozens of casualties. Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused? I had wanted to ask more carefully, but hearing this overblown accusation, how much trouble. What, are you going to execute me? His tone hoarse. Then he saw my indifferent expression. The hostility in his eyes was like needles, teasing straight into his heart. Do you know who I am? How dare you speak to me like this? If I hadn't heard you had some skill, you wouldn't even be worthy of meeting me, he barked. My response was to impatiently pick my ear. I don't know what status you have. All I hear is that you came to ask for my help. I raised an eyebrow. And this is your attitude? His eyes blazed with fury. Just as he was about to explode, ding-ling-ling, he stared at me hard, kicked up his phone and spoke coldly. A panicked voice came from the other end. Captain Lu, pull back. That big ghost, we can't handle it. He immediately roared. Bullshit. That ghost is badly wounded. It can't even hold its ghostly form together. Don't any of you think about being cowards. The Paranormal Management Bureau pays your wages, not for you to freeload. He bellowed into the phone, but his eyes were fixed on me. You will kill that ghost for me. If you don't, and something goes wrong, it's on you. No one gets off the hook. Everyone, get in there. The trembling reply came from the phone. There's no one left. They're all dead. The line went dead. He raised his hand and pointed at me. Kid, coming to find you is giving you a huge honor. Don't think you're someone special. The Paranormal Management Bureau has no shortage of talented people. I'll remember tonight. My name is Lu Chuan. You remember that name too. With that, he turned and left. The threat was undisguised. Captain Lu, we came to ask for help. The two men shouted urgently. Without looking back, he roared, get lost. All of you, get back. Just one injured great ghost, and you can't handle it. Even if it costs your lives, kill it. The two men's faces darkened. They glanced back at me. Brother, Changyuan Cemetery, that ghost, get back here. The two exchanged helpless looks, dragging their weak bodies toward the car. Kate, I called out to them. Stay far away tonight. Heshengsheng is not something you can handle. You'll just be working to your deaths. Before they could answer, they heard the middle-aged man pounding the car door, urging them, so they hurried back. The Paranormal Management Bureau. I pondered the name. Clearly, this was the big hand He Yorn had mentioned, the one that even the local power, the He group, couldn't contend with, and its leader was such an idiot. The voice faded, but a quiet weight settled in my heart. In that earlier call, that had been cut off, I clearly heard, no one left, all dead. Heshengsheng had caused so much trouble. I sighed softly. A sharp glint flickered in my eyes. Seeing that dawn had not yet fully broken, I turned and worked to the corner of the alley, bowed slightly, and rang the bell to request an audience with the divine official. A hazy mist swirled. A tall figure stood within the mist and spoke. A rather ethereal voice emerged. May I ask, where are the original wandering spirits of the west side of the city? Where are they now? Big Mouth has already gone to handle it. You need not worry. Tomorrow night, the ghosts will return to the west side, but try not to cause such incidents in the future. Thank you, divine official. The mist slowly dissipated. The aloof figure said not a single extra word. I turned and worked back to the courtyard, letting out a long breath. Talking to the oil god was stressful. At the same time, I caught another layer of meaning. Try not to cause such incidents. If it happens too often, they'll have to run around for nothing. Not to mention offending people. The worst is ruining their impression. Business relies on many customers, and you have to take good care of them too. You can't shear wool without a sheep. I rubbed my brow, feeling a bit weary. I went to the backyard, took out gold and silver ingots, and lined them up on both sides of the alley, then went back inside and lay down. The female ghost appeared by my pillow, her icy forehead resting against my chest. The feud with Heshengsheng is really blowing up. Not a single one of those dozens of people left alive. He cleaned them out and came straight for you. Her face was full of worry, her voice pitiful. Young master, you're kind-hearted. You know Heshengsheng won't go after his granddaughter, but to be safe, you deliberately drew talismans for that girl's bodyguards, specifically to provoke Heshengsheng, making him fixate entirely on coming for you. But that puts all the danger on you alone. She looked at me with a tender expression, so considerate it felt really warm. I pretended not to care, but a smile still crept onto my face. I wasn't as noble as she said. It's just that I stirred up this mess, so naturally I didn't want He Yorn and her family to bear the risk. Besides, Heshengsheng is a born villain. Every grudge must be repaid. I don't mind adding a little more fuel to the fire. Alright, I like hearing sweet words. Enough, I'm tired. I lifted her chin. Her eyes lit up. Don't even think about another round. I lowered my head, striking first, my tongue darting out in a flash. Meanwhile, at Changyuan Cemetery, jai 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 jai. A sinister laugh echoed. How dare you fight? A mere evil spirit, not hiding, but slaughtering like this. Do you really think the Paranormal Management Bureau has no one left? A man stammered out the words. Beside him lay several corpses, sucked dry to skin and bone. Not far off, another man's body had half collapsed, letting out a heart-wrenching scream. Behind him, a gaunt ghostly figure floated in midair, its hands gripping the back of his head. Paranormal Management Bureau. Heshengsheng's hoarse voice rasped out. I don't give a damn about your so-called bureau. Blame yourselves for daring to lay a hand on me. Once I've feasted on you, I'll go devour that little bastard. He suddenly lowered his head, biting down on the man's crown. An eerie sound of swallowing echoed, and the man's body visibly collapsed. Meanwhile, the ghostly light on He Shengsheng grew ever brighter. After devouring that man into a dried corpse, he turned to the last person standing, a mad grin curling at the corner of his mouth. Your turn, not just you. Once I kill that brat, I'll keep devouring, swallowing the entire Yanbei whole. Jai 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 jai. Madman, madman, do you even know what you're saying? Asterisk whoosh exclamation asterisk He Shengsheng appeared before him out of thin air. Madman, I've been called that my whole life. Everyone who dared say that to me is dead. You're no exception. The man's pupils widened in an instant, his head slumped heavily, his cheeks began to cave in, and his eyeballs were sucked alive into his skull. Their bodies withered. In less than a minute, He Shengsheng flung the corpse away with a violent toss. The flying body was still midair, when countless dark shadows swarmed around it. Fresh flesh is mine. Mine. Get back. Let me have a bite. The clamoring cries echoed endlessly. Suddenly, He Shengsheng whipped his head around, a vicious glare in his eyes. In an instant, countless ghostly figures froze in place, then scattered on their own, landing respectfully on the ground. Ta! He chuckled, as if recalling a time in his youth when he didn't eat beef. Eat! The ghost shadows surged forward like mad. His smile grew even wider. As he turned, his gaze fell on the paper funeral shop in the west of the city. That little bastard actually has a night wonder protecting him. Last time, I was careless, almost died there. I need to think of something. Suddenly, an idea came. A vicious grin twisted his lips, his face twitching wildly. Just you wait, you little bastard. I'll skin you alive and rip out your sinews. He turned into a black shadow and vanished beneath the dawn. At the same time, inside the paper funeral shop, I rested with my eyes closed. I absorbed the ghostly Kai transformed from the heavenly Yuan Jade, but an inexplicable sense of dread lingered in my heart. Alright, I took a few deep breaths. I looked up, the morning glow was rising outside the courtyard. A phone ring jolted me awake. It was Hyeon. I flexed my somewhat stiff fingers. I answered the call. Suzuki, things seem to be getting out of control. His voice trembled as he spoke carefully. I just got word. Last night at Changyuan Cemetery, the wailing never stopped. Now, a 1-kilometer perimeter has been cordoned off. Multiple civilian vehicles were suddenly requisitioned. He suppressed his fear and asked, Linmo, do you think he'll come for us next, or come for you? I'm the one who went to the wrong grave. He'll definitely come for me first. I paused for a moment. Don't be afraid. Do as I taught you. Stay by your parents' side. Those bodyguards must never leave your side. On the other end, he was silent for a moment. He chose to trust me. Alright. I hung up. I furrowed my brow. If it were just He Shengsheng, I'd simply wait for him to come. But of all things, this so-called Paranormal Management Bureau, out of nowhere, had her butt in, and they even gave him a big gift, 50 living souls, 50 lives. How could anyone be that stupid? Even a beaten dog knows to run. But they just let themselves be devoured clean. I have no idea how terrifying that thing has become now. It's even given me some damn crisis sense. I shook my head inwardly. When it's time to back down, I'll back down. But when it's time to stand up, do they really think I have no spine? I turned and left. I headed straight for the side room in the back courtyard. I worked past rows of hanging paper effigies. At the back of the room, I pulled off a large red cloth, revealing a pitch-black wooden chest, about half a man's height, surrounded by locks and latches. If skill isn't enough, let the tools make up for it. I reached out and touched the chest. The surface was cold to the touch. When I was a child, my grandfather once carried this chest on his back to conduct a crossing. I grabbed a latch and pulled with a slight force. A long, thin drawer slid out. Inside was a stack of yellow talismans. Hundreds of talismans, their patterns dazzling and brilliant diamond talismans, or rather, house-breaking talismans. With a solemn expression, I pushed it back in. I pulled open another drawer. Inside was a string of red rope, 7 or 8 meters long. Each end had a plug. Beside it was a hollow, carved ball. I couldn't figure that one out. But this whole set really made my imagination run wild. Especially for dealing with female ghosts. Tie them up and stuff it in their mouths. PFFT, PFFT, PFFT. I pulled open 2 more drawers. Clack, clack. On the left was a sword made of ancient coins, old coins and ink string, exuding a faint, deep fragrance of ink. Yinjiu coins, blood silk string, good stuff. And the right was a plain, square wooden rod, utterly unremarkable. Yet it gave me an indescribable sense of comfort. I picked up the wooden rod. My eyes narrowed. The moment it touched my hand, the yang kai within me uncontrollably surged into the wood. The ordinary timber suddenly burst with blazing light. 100-year-old peach wood. My pupils trembled. The standard tool for those who work the yin path is a peach wood sword. Such fine material, and it wasn't made into a sword. Maybe grandfather kept it as a spare. But this rod fits perfectly in my hand. Especially the yang kai within this peach wood, it's terrifyingly potent. It's practically tailor-made for me. What a find. I weighed the rod in my hand and smiled. I pulled open the remaining drawers. Ink and line, yellow talismans and cinnabar full 18 sets. I checked each one. In my mind, a scene was already taking shape. On a moonless, wind-howling night, ghosts wailed in droves. A handsome youth rode the wind. He raised a hand and pressed the chest. 100 treasures shot forth. Kaki, I grinned. I planned to set the peachwood aside. Everything was ready. I'd wait right here for him to come. If I couldn't handle it, there were 2 night-wandering gods outside the door. Even if the night-wandering gods failed, I could always sell the gold. Suddenly, Tim poised to strike. I looked up toward the front yard. My brow twitched eerily. That nameless unease returned. My gaze sharpened. Gripping the peachwood, I walked to the front yard. It was nearly noon. Sunlight poured down. I squinted into the light, my eyes fixed on the doorway. A barefoot man stood there. I knew not when. One foot had already crossed the threshold. The other foot's in step dragged across it. He stood still, unmoving. My brow slowly furrowed. My heart suddenly raced. "K," I called out. The man didn't answer. He didn't even lift his head. But that instep resting on the threshold, slow and stiff, inch by inch, crossed over. The next second, a gust of wind swept through the shop. Wind chimes clattered mournfully. I instinctively turned away. When I looked back, bam, his foot slammed hard onto the floor. His whole body lurched eerily. Under my gaze, he slowly raised his head. He looked over 40. His features were rigid. His eyes were sunken and hollow. His face was pale, without color, faintly tinged with deathly horror.